is expected in the big house as Michigan takes on Indiana just 1 week before their matchup against Ohio State. Here come the Wolverines, and there's a lot of them. Michigan goes for its 4th straight win coming up. And welcome to college football presented by Nokia. A Big Ten matchup as Indiana takes on the University of Michigan. Michigan starting off 3-3 on the season, but have caught fire at the right time. They're coming off a bye week and come in at 6-3. The Big Ten season has been rather wild. Right now, 5 teams have a chance to either win or share the conference title, but Penn State controls its destiny. And we welcome you to the big house. Pam Moore joined by David Norrie. Jimmy Dykes will be with us very, very soon. And it really has been sort of a wide open season in the Big Ten.
Well, it has been wide open. As you mentioned, 5 teams with a chance to still win the conference. Penn State controls their own destiny. They have a bye this week. Next week, they'll have to get it done against Michigan State. But 4 other teams still in the mix, Pam.
Including Michigan. And this is a team that did get off to that slow start. There was a lot of pressure and some talk about Chad Henne, but he has really started to play well.
Yeah, people talking about Chad Henne, sophomore slump. Of course, he misses Braylon Edwards. Edwards had 97 catches a year ago, but it was injuries along the offensive line that really hurt this offense early, and probably the loss of Mike Hart has been the biggest factor. As a true freshman a year ago, over 1,400 yards in just 8 starts. He's an electrifying performer. He's starting to get healthy. I think Chad Henne will be better as a result. And Chad Henne also has developed a go-to guy in Jason Avant. This guy is a precision route runner. He catches everything, has the ability to get off the line of scrimmage and press coverage. 65 catches on the year, and Jason Avant now has hit full stride. I think Chad Henne really now has a full complement of weapons to go to with this offense.
And while Michigan is getting healthier, but Terry Hepner's team, the Hoosiers, going the other way. John Pinozzo is middle linebacker, and defensive tackle Russ Richardson are out with injuries. James Bailey, an academic suspension, a wide receiver, and his talented wide receiver James Hardy is out with an injury today. For more on what Hepner's team is up against, let's go down to Jimmy Dykes.
Well, Pam, prior to coming to Indiana, Terry Hepner had a pretty good quarterback at Miami University by the name of Ben Roethlisberger. He would challenge his future pro quarterback every Thursday to be perfect. No bad balls, no incompletions, no drops by his receivers. He started the same program this year at Indiana with Blake Powers and his receivers, and it took all the way till this past Thursday for Indiana to accomplish that goal. They did it. No drops, no bad balls, no incompletions at all during Thursday's practice. He's hoping that perfect Thursday practice equates into a perfect Saturday, something they may have to be when you consider they're 4-5 playing in the big house. But the standard that Terry Hepner is setting in his program is squarely in place.
Hopefully it is for Indiana a harbinger of good things to come for Hepner, his first season with the Hoosiers, and they have not won here in Ann Arbor since 1967. Hepner, the Indiana native, coming home and trying to get that program back on track. Of course, Lloyd Carr has been at Michigan and has done wonderful things. Now in his 11th season, 5 Big Ten titles, and the 1997 national championships when they ran the table and were 12-0. Lloyd Carr's team trying not to look ahead to that team coming in from Columbus next week, as Ohio State will take on Michigan.
Yeah, rivalries don't get any bigger than that. Michigan, Ohio State. Lloyd Carr under a little bit of fire, Pam, after the 3-3 start, but they have it rolling here late in the season, and 3 quality wins and a 3-game win streak. Penn State, and then wins at Iowa, at Northwestern. I think Michigan still is going to figure heavily into this Big Ten race in the next 2 weeks.
And their losses, remember, early to Notre Dame and then to Wisconsin and finally to Minnesota, but they've won 3 in a row, and we join you here on a spectacular November day in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The sun is shining and the temperature going to hit around 60 or so. Winds coming out of the southwest. It is a beautiful day, and once again, this stadium will be packed with about 111,000 people as they cheer on their Michigan Wolverines. Michigan has totally dominated this series. This is the 58th time these two teams have met. Michigan has won 48 of those 57 previous games, including 35-14 last year against Indiana. They've won 13 straight in this rivalry.
Yeah, and really a tall task for Indiana. Yeah, they're missing James Hardy, #1 receiver in the Big Ten Conference. He went down a week ago against Minnesota. And I think, Pam, for Indiana and Coach Hepner to have a chance to win this afternoon, they have got to take away Michigan's run game. And that's easier said than done. They got to force Chad Henne into passing situations and hope that Henne and this wide receiver core have an off day.
Of course, Mike Hart has been injured. We talked about that in the open, but they have guys like Kevin Grady and Jerome Jackson who have come in, and we expect to see Hart play, but he will not start as we are getting ready to get underway. Michigan won the toss and deferred, so Indiana will receive, and they have a talented return man in Lance Bennett. Has been hampered by a couple of bad knees throughout his career, but he's 7th right now in the Big Ten in kick returns. He had an 86-yarder against Kentucky earlier this season. And that ball is squibbed to Bennett. Return just short of the 25-yard line, and that is where Indiana will take over. Sophomore Blake Powers in his first season as a starting quarterback, well, it's been a memorable one. His 21 touchdown passes are a new school record.
And I think against Ohio State, Blake Powers coming into the Ohio State game this year really had his way in the passing offense, and then was able to throw the ball accurately. They had success in the passing game. I think Ohio State rattled Blake Powers, and he really hasn't been the same since.
Had a rather off game last week against Minnesota, completing only 26 of 43 passes, and on the roll, Powers going to hold on to it, and Blake Powers is hit down just short of the first down by Grant Mason, coming over from his cornerback position. With both James Hardy and James Bailey sidelined, the Hoosiers going to look more to senior Jakeem Gilmore. Chris Taylor is 10th in the Big Ten with 609 rushing yards. He had a couple of touchdown runs against Minnesota last week. And Isaac Soles, Indiana's best offensive lineman, David, certainly a good NFL prospect.
Yeah, Soles is probably going to play at the guard position at the NFL level. Not a real deep draft coming up at the guard position. Soles may figure in the first couple rounds.
Powers did pick up a first down. Taylor gets the football, and Chris Taylor picks up about 9 yards. Willis Behringer making the stop, but a couple of good plays for Indiana to start out this football game. Michigan's defense coming off a tremendous performance a couple of weeks ago when they shut down Northwestern. Coaches love the potential of sophomore defensive end Alan Branch. And Pierre Woods is starting for Lamar Woodley, who continues to nurse a hurt arm. Prescott Burgess, Dave Harris, who's been plagued by injuries, finally is healthy now as a senior. Chris Graham, Leon Hall, and Grant Mason, both good corners. Willis Behringer and Brandon Engelman, very physical safeties. And we talked to Jim Herman, their defensive coordinator, and his eyes light up when he talks about hitting guys. And his eyes will light up with Gabe Watson's play as he drops Taylor for a couple of yard loss.
Gabe Watson got off to a slow start this year and really came into the season with some high expectations. Jim Herman, the defensive coordinator, had to sit him down several times early this season, but he has really got things rolling the last 3 or 4 games, and he is a force playing inside for the Wolverines.
So the greatest motivator in sports is the pine bench. He sat down Watson, and since then he has come back and is playing better. That tackle for loss makes it 3rd and 3. Powers upstairs for the first time, and he completes it for a first down to Matt O'Neill, a junior tight end from Terre Haute.
Yeah, the tight ends are going to have to figure into this offense today. They're going to have to pick up the slack with James Hardy out, and of course Bailey suspended. The tight ends are going to take on a bigger role in the offense, and a nice ball by Powers to move the chains here in the first quarter early.
So for Matt O'Neill, that is his 11th catch of the season. And Indiana gets another first down. Snap from their 45. And that is the second running back, Yamar Washington. His first carry of the day only gets him about a yard.
And Indiana coming out. This is spread offense typically for Terry Hepner, but coming out in a 2 tight end set. And Hepner likes to go with 3, 4, sometimes 5 wide receiver sets, but with the injuries and the suspension, going with two tight ends early, and Indiana a little bit out of character.
Take a look at Washington's number. The senior from Houston had a devastating injury his second season and is still trying to get back on track now as a senior. And that pass is complete to Jakeem Gilmore. So Blake Powers and company coming out. Both of his top two receivers are out of the game, and Terry Hepner's guys have it going. And
Gilmore is really the most experienced member of the wide receiver unit, capable of running good routes. He's an excellent third down receiver. And Blake Powers, if you give him time in the pocket and you allow him to throw on the move without pressure, he's a very accurate passer. He has his moments, and if you catch him on a hot day, he can create some problems.
In fact, he comes into this game completing 57% of his passes, and he's going up top again. That one is thrown downfield to Gilmore, and Jakeem Gilmore catches it. Indiana's on the board with the touchdown. A terrific first drive for the Hoosiers. So no James Bailey, no James Hardy, and Blake Powers going to Gilmore for a 42-yard touchdown. And that is exactly what the Hoosiers needed. They are huge, big underdogs in this game, and that was quite a first drive. Joe Kleinsmith, true freshman kicker, has only attempted 6 field goals all year. And he gets that extra point through. So Blake Powers missing his top two receivers. How about going to number 3? He's number 1 in the program, and that's Indiana's 7-0 lead. The Indiana Hoosiers took the opening kickoff, 7 plays, 77 yards, just over 3 minutes. Jakeem Gilmore has caught a 42-yard touchdown pass from Blake Powers, and this crowd of over 111,000 is quiet, something they did not expect.
Things got quiet in a hurry in the big house, and I think that Blake Powers is going to have to get these types of plays from a skill athlete. It's a wonderful play by Gilmore outplaying the cornerback on the touchdown.
And Indiana's strategy is not to have Steve Breaston touch the football, but that's not going to help, because now Michigan, as the kickoff goes out of bounds, will start from its own 35-yard line.
Illegal kick out of bounds by the kicking team. By rule, the ball is placed at the 35-yard line. First down.
The Wolverines will take over at the 35. And going back to the touchdown, Gilmore at the top of the screen, he's going to run a go route, and he's working against Leon Hall. The Wolverines think that Leon Hall might be one of the better corners to ever play at University of Michigan as he develops. But Gilmore makes a great play on the football. Ball was slightly underthrown. Hall was playing with a nice cushion. Like I said, Pam, Powers is going to need plays like that from his wide receivers and skill athletes throughout this game to have a chance to win for Terry Hepner.
So they will kick again. Michigan deciding not to take the ball at the 35, so we will have a re-kick, which is highly unusual. Steve Breaston, there you see him, number 15, one of the most dangerous return men.
Well, and you have the option to take the 5-yard penalty and not take the ball at the 35-yard line. Most coaches will take the ball at the 35-yard line, but then again, Pam, most coaches don't have Steve Breaston.
Yes. Breaston right now closing in on Anthony Carter's numbers for being the most prolific kick returner in Michigan's proud history. Already is their career punt returner. And Steve Breaston, number 15, they obviously don't want to get him the ball. Let's see what the strategy is now from Kleinsmith and company. And this time the short kick is taken by Breaston at the 20, and this is why you don't want to kick to Steve Breaston. Breaston finally taken down at the 34-yard line of Indiana. So Breaston does it again with a 47-yard return.
And you have to give it to Lloyd Carr. And Lloyd Carr says, hey, if we're going to take it to 35, that's advantage Indiana. Let's go ahead and kick it again. And Breston breaks a tackle. So wonderful at making that first kick coverage guy miss. And he comes off a Rose Bowl last year against Texas. He shattered the all-purpose yards record against Texas. 315 yards, including 221 kickoff yards against the Longhorn.
So by not taking it at their own 35 and taking the kickoff for Breston, it's a 31-yard difference as Chad Henne rolls out. Kyle Killian makes the stop after Henne picked up a couple of yards. Chad Henne is a sophomore coming on strong since Michigan's 3-3 start. He's 142 yards away from his second straight 2,000-yard passing season.
And I talked about Mike Hart and the wonderful year he had at tailback as a true freshman. You got to remember, Chad Henne was a true freshman a year ago. 25 touchdowns, only 12 interceptions, and he had a huge game in the Rose Bowl against Texas as well.
One of the all-time classics. He picked up a couple of yards, so it's 2nd and 8 for the Wolverines. Henne on top, and that pass is complete to Antonio Bass, a true freshman that they're very excited about here. Picked up 7 yards. Jason Avant coming in with 65 catches, almost 4 times the number of any other Wolverine. And Kevin Grady starts for the 2nd straight game as Mike Hart is still out nursing a sore ankle. And Lloyd Carr says right tackle Jake Long will be remembered as one of the very best offensive linemen ever to play for Michigan, and that is saying something. That young man missed the first 7 games after having his ankle severely hurt in fall camp. 3rd and 1 for the Wolverines. Grady in the backfield. But Henne's going up top, and he hits his favorite target. That's Avant, and he picks up a first down.
Oh, and you gotta love the execution. The footwork by Henne. Watch how he clears himself with the 3-step drop. Has that ball loaded. And who better to go to than Avant? I mean, he is a master route runner. The quick slant, gets inside quickly, working against Majors, and the ball was delivered perfectly.
Avant averaging about 7.2 catches per game, has caught at least 5 in all 9 games this season. That one good for a first down. And the carry for Grady. As he gets about a yard. Let's take a look now at the defensive line. Ben Ishola and Victor Adianju, the strength of the D-line. Adianju with 5.5 sacks. Russ Richardson is out. Joe Kramer starts for him. Senior Kyle Killian in the middle again after an injury to John Pinozzo ended his season 2 weeks ago. And the defensive backfield will be tested. Tracy Porter leads everybody with 3 interceptions. 2nd and 7 after the 3-yard gain. Michigan on the 12. And Henne, who says he checks out of things like every other play, has it deflected, but it goes right into the hands of Kevin Grady. So Michigan able to hang on to the football, even though a lineman got his hands on it.
I think Big Ben Ishola, very talented defensive end in his own right, is going to get his hand on the football. And how about Grady, the freshman? Gets his eyes up to the football, makes a play, and that's been one of the knocks on Chad Henne. He gets an inordinate number of balls tipped at the line of scrimmage for a guy that goes 6'2", 226.
He has altered his delivery somewhat. Did that mid-season. It seems to have been helping him. His percentages are up. 1st and goal. Henne in the end zone for Avant, and that's incomplete, as Henne was covered by Tracy Porter.
And Chad Henne's going to try to fit this ball into the backside pocket of Avant. Look at him. Look at Cheney read the play of Porter, the cornerback, and shade the ball to the outside. That was a pretty nice ball. And you're working against Porter on the outside. Porter is a very capable cornerback and played extremely well last week against Minnesota.
Porter only a sophomore from Port Allen, Louisiana. Now 2nd and goal from the 5. Henne again, looking for Avant, makes the turn, and the ball just sails over his head, as again he was working one-on-one with Porter. 3rd and goal from the 5 coming up.
Well, and Avant was trying to run a fade route. Turns over the opposite shoulder. This is supposed to be a fade route to the corner of the end zone, and ball not thrown with a lot of touch. Henne's got all the tools. He can make all the throws. He's He's got superior arm strength, but his development is going to come as he learns to not be a one-speed thrower, a guy that can put some different trajectories on the ball and change speeds with his throws.
Lloyd Carr talked about his team struggling in the red zone. 3rd and 5, 3rd and goal again, and that time it works. Henne throws the touchdown pass to his tight end, Tyler Ecker. So the Wolverines tried 3 straight passes from the 5, and the 3rd time was the charm.
Well, and there's not much room to fit this ball in. I mean, Ecker's really close to being covered. Will Myers, the strong safety, was sitting in the middle. Boy, that's a tight spot to fit the ball into the back of the end zone. Pretty solid throw by Henne.
A bullet pass, first touchdown reception of the year for Ecker, as Garrett Rivas, one of the best kickers out there, ties up the game at 7. So Michigan, 1st and goal from the 5. They tried 3 straight passes, and Ecker takes it home to tie the game. Each team has had 1 possession, and each team has scored a touchdown. Tyler Ecker with a touchdown catch from Chad Henne, as you take a look at our Sonic scoring drive. And it wasn't much of a drive because Steve Breston took the kickoff following Indiana's touchdown, 47 yards. They declined the penalty to take it over at the 35, and that one is kicked almost out of the ballpark as we go back to the touchdown.
Yeah, and taking a look from the end zone, we get to see what Henne saw on the touchdown. He's going to get back, quick drop, comes back to his big tight end, and look at the picture here. I mean, there's not much of a window to throw into, but he's working to a 6'6", 260-pound tight end. That ball was thrown with some velocity on it, and the book, Pam, on Ecker, you know, he's really stepped it up coming in for Massaquoi, the all Big Ten tight end, picked up a lot of the slack. And the book on Ecker is he's big, tall, and great hands, and he really showed it on the touchdown.
Massaquoi hurting his hand very early in the season, and Ecker has come in. That was a huge catch, and the ball had a lot of mustard on it. 1st and 10 now for Indiana, as Taylor tries to get outside and gets nothing. Terrific pursuit by the Michigan Wolverines. Let's check in for the first time today with Matt Weiner.
And the studio update brought to you by Taco Bell. Northwestern and Ohio State still figuring into the Big Ten race. Wildcats on the board first. Brett Bazinet sends it out to the freshman Terrell Sutton, who keeps rewriting the record book there. His 18th touchdown as the Wildcats up 7-0.
Big game there. Northwestern a couple of weeks ago. Boy, Michigan, really the first team to shut down that potent Northwestern offense, shut them out in the second half. Tyrell Sutton, a terrific true freshman. Blake Powers has to improvise and does a nice job by getting it out to around the 27, picked up 7, so a 3rd and 3 coming up.
Yeah, and you come in and play Michigan at their place, and you're about a 24-point underdog. Powers has throwing ability, and he has the ability to put the ball on spots, but also he's going to have to make strong decisions this afternoon. And when he can't find a receiver downfield, he's got to be smart about pulling the ball down, tucking it, picking up positive yards.
And he's done that a couple of times already today. And now officially 3rd and 2 for the Hoosiers. Matt O'Neill, the tight end, in motion. And some movement on the left side of the Indiana line before the play.
Prior to the snap, false start. Number 75 on the offense. 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Yeah, big Adam Hines, the left guard, and he's going to pull on this play. And you know, sometimes you're sitting inside and you try to get a little bit of a start. Just before the snap, Adam Hines moved, and playing against a tough Michigan defensive front with star quality players across the board, Pam.
Make you a little bit jumpy. Hines making his 42nd straight start today, has been a mainstay, now a senior. And that pushes Indiana back now to 3rd and 7. Powers floats it up and throws it away because everybody was covered, including Matt O'Neill, the defensive line, throwing some stunts at him, and he just decided to throw the ball away.
Well, and Brandon Walker-Roby, the true freshman, along with Matt O'Neill, the tight end for Indiana, running a combination route. They were flat shut down on the weak side, the short side of the field to the right for Blake Powers. Blake Powers had nothing to do on that play but throw the ball away.
That was the wise move, and he made it. And look who's back at his 38. Steve Breston awaiting the punt from Australian Tyson Beattie. Great hang time. Oh, and that's a huge penalty, an obvious penalty, as Tracy Porter came in and smacked Breston well before the ball got to him. Obviously, you want to contain Breston, but that's not the way to do it.
Well, and as a coverage man in football, whether you're at the college level or the pro level, you have a responsibility to not make plays like that play. I mean, that is a very dangerous play, and if Porter, doesn't let up a little bit, that could be a serious injury. And you have a responsibility to know where the football is.
Number 9 on the kicking team. That penalty is enforced 15 yards from the spot of the foul. First down.
Hey, will we take a look at it real speed? I mean, this is a situation where you could actually get thrown out of the game. And Porter making no effort to find the ball with his eyes. He clearly sees that Breston hasn't made the catch. And you're walking a fine line getting thrown out of the football game making that type of play.
Dan Capron, the referee today, as you take a look at Porter, stays in as the starting cornerback. And for the second time today, Michigan will start in Indiana territory. They had a 34-yard touchdown drive after Breston's kickoff return. And Jerome Jackson, who had over 100 yards in their last game against Northwestern, gets smacked down right away by Jake Powers. We are joining you from the Big House. Michigan has a big date next week against Ohio State, but first things first, as Michigan tries to get a piece of that Big Ten title, they are taking on an Indiana ball club that needs to win this week and next week against Purdue to be bowl eligible. And that pass is complete to Breston, and Steve Breston, just a couple of plays after he took that pop on the punt return, takes it all the way down, close to the 15-yard line.
Now, Steve Breston, we mentioned the Rose Bowl a year ago, and he came into the season with very, very high expectations. That was a backward pass. Now, that was a lateral. Got to be secure with the football, but Breston came in with those high expectations, had a hamstring injury, an ankle injury early. He hasn't been healthy, and this is probably the first time he's been 100%, Pam, and it's really showing up.
Very much hampered by those injuries earlier in the season. They mark it back at the 24 where he went out of bounds. And that carry by Jerome Jackson picks up about 3 yards. Coming up, college football primetime presented by Polaroid. A huge game in the SEC. Tommy Tuberville and Auburn taking on Georgia. The Bulldogs hoping to have DJ Shockley back. That's tonight, 7:45 Eastern time. You can get it on spectacular ESPN HD.
Boy, that's going to be a heck of a ball game. There's some key games down the stretch in the SEC. Of course, Alabama, Auburn next week.
Handoff to Jerome Jackson.
Jerome Jackson again getting the handoff, and he is stacked up around the middle of the line. He'll be about 3 yards short of the first down.
Yeah, Jerome Jackson, a real interesting story, and really mired on the depth chart. Back at number 3 tailback coming into the year. Mike Hart is injured. Grady, the true freshman, getting time, and Jackson went over 100 yards a couple weeks ago against Northwestern. Played very well the week before in the win against Iowa.
Subbing for Mike Hart against Iowa, had 44 yards on only 11 carries. And Antonio Bass, the true freshman, picks up a Michigan first down. Another first and goal coming up as he picked up 9.
Well, this was an interesting play call. They snuck Bass into the backfield. Watch him sneak into the backfield into a tailback formation. And Bass has bullet-type speed. And he's a sub-4.3 guy, the fastest player on this Michigan team. And good way to get him involved, Pam. with the direct pitch from Henne.
He was a high school quarterback with no catches coming into today, but that's already his 11th carry of the season. He said they really want to take advantage of his speed. First and goal from the 8. Avant, touchdown Michigan. The Wolverines get a couple of short fields, and they take advantage both times. That is Avant's 7th touchdown catch of the season as Michigan takes the lead for the first time today. Rivas makes it 14-7, Wolverines. So Jason Avant has been Chad Henne's go-to guy all season, and this time he goes to the end zone. Jason Avant says that he is just all right as a wide receiver, says he's probably a better blocker, says his hands are just okay. He's a very modest young man, but I tell you what, he is a very good wide receiver catching the touchdown pass, and this won't help Terry Hepner. 2 short fields and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, this is too talented an offensive squad. The Michigan lines up on the field to give short fields and opportunities near midfield for drives.
Penalty for hitting Breston early on the punt return set up the last short field. Touchback, Indiana has it from the 20.
ESPN2's college football is presented by Nokia. It's more than just a phone, it's your life in there. Nokia. And in part by Dr. Pepper and your local Dr. Pepper bottler. Dr. Pepper, one taste and you get it. And Wendy's Bacon Mushroom Melt. Do what tastes right.
Welcome back to Michigan. Indiana trailing 14-7. They broke on top with this first score in their first drive, and Jakeem Gilmore has one sail over his head incomplete. Let's go back to Matt Weiner.
All right, another Taco Bell update, Pam, and let's check in on Ohio State and Northwestern. Troy Smith has answered for the Buckeyes. 4-yard run there. His 22nd touchdown of the season ties it up in Columbus. That game now 7-all. In Minneapolis, the Gophers have taken the early lead on Michigan State, 7-0.
Michigan State trying to get bowl eligible as Chris Taylor runs into a bunch of maize and blue. Check that, it's Yamar Washington. Goes down and lost a yard or so as he was just swarmed under.
And Blake Powers has had a lot on his shoulders for this Indiana offense. He has not had a lot of help from the run game over the course of the last 5 or 6 football games, and pretty tough young sophomore to put those types of, that type of weight on his shoulders as we look at the rush offense. And, in a nutshell, Pam, the difficulties that the Hoosiers have had, they haven't been able to run the ball, and they haven't been able to stop the run on defense.
And now they are down their 2 top receivers, Hardy and Bailey, neither of them playing today. And here's a 3rd and long for Powers. Goes underneath the Gilmore, and he skips it near his shoes. For the second straight 3 and out for Indiana. Hoosiers' last 4 losses to Iowa, Ohio State, Michigan State, and Minnesota. They actually led Minnesota last week at the half. And then Minnesota scored 4 touchdowns in the 3rd quarter to win it 42-21. Steve Breston has factored into both scoring drives. A 47-yard kickoff return helped set up the short field for the first touchdown, and then the last time he tried to retrieve a punt or field a punt, he was plowed into as a flag is down. And Breston fair catches it at the 38, but we'll check the penalty flag near the line of scrimmage. The 41-yard punt for Tyson Beatty.
Penalty marker down. Preliminary indication that they kicked a penalty against the kicking team.
Illegal formation. Fewer than 7 men on the line of scrimmage by the kicking team. That penalty is declined. First down.
Yeah, and Indiana's offense, as we take a look at Terry Hepner, they have got to help their defense out. This defense, they're missing John Pinozzo, their middle linebacker. They haven't been able to stop anybody on the ground. And last week, Minnesota really pounded this defense in the second half. Opened up with 4 straight scoring drives in the third quarter. And as an offense, Indiana has to help this defense out and put some drives together. Keep this defense rested.
Right now they're facing 4 receivers, and Breston, one of them, makes the catch and then gets it up close and should have the first down. For more on Chad Henne, let's go down to the field and Jimmy Dykes.
Well, Pam, you mentioned that Chad Henne made a minor adjustment to his throwing motion about halfway through the season. He said his release point was a little bit low, getting the ball out away from his body, and now he's concentrating on making sure the elbow is above the shoulder, getting him more on top of the ball. Therefore, he's not cutting the ball's not sailing on him 3 or 4 times a game like it was early in the year. Dave Norrie, it's a slight adjustment, but a very important one.
Oh, it's an important adjustment for sure, Jimmy, and to get the ball working for you and to drop the ball in the holes and use trajectory on the ball, you have to get on top of the ball with your throwing motion.
Because his confidence also soared once his mechanics got better. Obviously, you hit a few throws, that'll happen. There's Tim Massaquoi making the catch, picking up 7 yards on his first catch of the game. Massaquoi, one of the several Wolverines who has been out with injuries this season.
And Massaquoi, as we mentioned, first team All Big Ten a season ago. He's been hampered by injuries, but he made a nice adjustment on that ball. And, you know, when Henne throws a football, he can put a little mustard on it. That ball was not only thrown with some velocity, and Massaquoi had to make a nice adjustment and catch it on the back hip.
Massaquoi, the senior from Allentown, Pennsylvania, as Grady goes down in his tracks. Will Myers, a strong safety, makes a stop. Let's go back to Matt Weiner.
Hi, Pam, a Taco Bell update on Bowden Bowl 7 today. Clemson already up 7-0 for the younger Tommy Bowden when Charlie Whitehurst hits Chancey Stuckey. They'll take it down into the end zone. They would review it, tell him that he was out of bounds, but James Davis punches it in, and the Tigers are up 14-0.
Wow, you look at that Seminole team. Bobby Bowden's team down in Tallahassee has lost some of the mystique over the last 3 or 4 years. Looking awfully vulnerable down the stretch.
And baby Bowden, Tommy, out to that 14-0 lead. Henne on 3rd down, and that is a first down catch for Mario Manningham, the true freshman, with his first catch of the day, picks up the first down.
And Michigan doing a nice job early in the football game of giving Henne some manageable throws. You see Manningham coming all the way across the football field. That's an excellent way to lose underneath defenders, work against a zone. And Henne off to a hot start in this football game, throwing the ball extremely well.
Manningham called a very pleasant surprise by his coaching staff, a ton of talent. And again, he's only a true freshman. First down again for Michigan from the 29. Grady taken down a couple of yards past the line of scrimmage. Greg Brown, one of the defensive tackles, in on the stop.
And Terry Mason, the offensive coordinator for Michigan, you can tell early, and that's Terry, Terry Malone, the offensive coordinator for Michigan, is doing a great job early getting all the athletes involved. And Henne has thrown some of the short balls, the hitches, getting the ball in the hands of guys like Breston and Manningham, and letting their athleticism do the work after the catch.
Has a lot of guys to choose from, and he's been finding them now on 2nd and 8. Plenty of time for Henne, taking a shot in the end zone, and he's ruled out of bounds. The ball caught by Manningham, but the officials say he did not get a foot in.
Mario Manningham is out of bounds, caught out of bounds.
I'm not sure Lloyd Carr agrees that Manningham was out of bounds on this catch. And Manningham's going to work against Majors, running the fade route. Boy, that is close because Manningham did have the left foot in bounds. It's a matter of did he secure the ball before that right foot hit the sideline. That's a great call. That is not a catch.
John Rogerman, the side judge, right on it and did make the correct call. So Henne is taken down. Greg Brown, the freshman from Centerville, Ohio, comes in and gets his second sack of the season. They didn't have any sacks at all last week against Minnesota, and that's a big play.
And where has that pass rush been from the inside for Indiana? Now the Hoosiers with Adeyanju and Ishola, two pretty good pass rushers at defensive end, but they have not gotten a great push from their interior linemen. Russ Richardson went down first series last week against Minnesota. His help badly needed. Big number 62 Brown, the freshman.
So with that sack, it pushes Michigan all the way back to the 35. So Rivas trying from 52. Be a new career long. That one is hooked way left. So the sack from Greg Brown is huge for Indiana. Pushes Michigan out of field goal range as we go back to Matt Weiner.
Well, we showed you the Bowden Bowl. How about the Spurrier Bowl? Steve Spurrier suddenly hot. Gamecocks against his old school Florida, and that is picked off. Chris Leak intercepted by big old Chris Tucker. And look at the 290-pounders show off the wheels. All the Gators trying to bring this guy down. Eventually inside the 5. Great run for Tucker and an even better run for the running back Mike Davis. After all, that is his job. That's a touchdown. Gamecocks on top early.
Matt Davis a little bit faster than Tucker getting in there. I think Tucker's own inertia helped bring him down. That's great. Big guys like that getting close to the goal line.
I think the old ball coach might want to utilize him on offense.
Tough to bring down. Chris Taylor gets the carry here for Indiana. And that's a little victory for this Indiana defense to keep Michigan off the board with the missed field goal. Now Blake Powers trying to get everybody all fired up.
And the Hoosiers are going to need some stops on defense, and they're also going to have to put some first downs together and get that defense rested. You can't run down against this Michigan offense.
2nd and 3. Back to Taylor, and he cuts back right into the hands of a Michigan defender. Prescott Burgess, one of the talented linebackers, in on the play.
This Indiana offensive line, they've had problems, and we mentioned the troubles running the football. They've had to move Justin Fry inside to guard and also have him spot at center. I feel like that's helped them in the run game, but still Indiana has not gotten push and the drive up front that they need to run the ball consistently.
They only average 137 yards per game on the ground. And that one, boy, Gilmore was open. I don't know if he cut the wrong way. Gilmore pointing to himself as if to say it's my fault. But that was a potential reception that goes awry.
Now, when you play against a defensive front, a talented defensive front like Michigan's, from time to time as a quarterback, you'll hurry throws. And Powers had his man open. I felt like he just tried to get that ball off too quickly, and he really had a nice pocket. The offensive line gave him some time.
3rd straight punt now for the Indiana offense. Over to special teams. Breston waits on his 20. Beatty, good hang time again. And Breston able to run by a couple of Hoosiers initially. Steve Breston breaking free, one guy to beat. But then he runs back into the teeth of some of the Indiana defenders. If he would have broken left, I think he would have scored.
I mean, if there's a more entertaining kick and punt returner in college football, I want to see him.
53 yards for Steve Breston. As we check him out in real speed, too fast to catch. The first quarter is over. Michigan up 14-7 and have the ball in good field position because of Breston. Second quarter about to get underway at Michigan, and Steve Breston, one of the best all-time, certainly the best in Michigan punt return history. And you see he's over 135 all-purpose yards already today, his 3rd straight 1,000-yard season as far as all-purpose yards go. And I don't want to tell Steve Breston how to run back a punt, but he probably could have had a touchdown if he cut to his left instead of his right, and we'll look at that a little bit later on. But still a fabulous punt return. 53 yards, sets Michigan up at the 26. 4 receivers all to the left, and Henne finds Manningham And Mario gets about 3. Let's go back to Mr. Breston.
Breston is just amazing. We look at the high angle here. He's going to take the punt, and he's so quick from stop to start. Now look at these moves. I mean, you talk about the ability to make people miss. Now watch, he's going to have the punter to get rid of right there. Let's freeze it. Now, you got 2 players for Indiana, and Breston's speed, I mean, it's a walk in the park. And he finds his way back to Powers and McClurg. I think he just had a brief case of vertigo there.
Well, maybe he was dizzy from making all those moves.
He did make a lot of people miss, and sometimes you start getting focused on those missed tackles.
It's a rare mistake for Breston, but still it's a spectacular 53-yard return as Kevin Grady picks up 5. Let's check out today's AFLAC trivia question. Last season, Michigan's Steve Breston set the Rose Bowl record with 315 all-purpose yards. We want to know whose Rose Bowl record did he break?
Oh, they were saying maybe we get a layup this week. I don't think that's quite a layup. We'll have to think about that one.
Another challenge as we ponder that over and let you do it. Breston taking a rest on the sidelines now. It's 3rd and 2.
I know that Breston's performance in the Rose Bowl was somewhat overshadowed by Vince Young, the quarterback for Texas, but.
And that one again to Antonio Bass. Let the guy use his speed, and he does just that to pick up the first down.
And Steve Breston has put his fingerprints all over this game plan early. We'll take a look at the kick return. Takes a hit, personal foul hit for Porter. And the quick pass from Henny. And how about this punt return?
135 all-purpose yards for him. Grady cutting in, and Kevin Grady takes it down inside the 5. Matt Lentz, the right guard, among the big guys, clearing the way. And with Steve Breston's day, this is quite a list.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, there's Anthony Carter and Desmond Howard. And Desmond Howard's a Heisman winner. Anthony Carter, 3 straight years in the top 10 in the Heisman voting. Of course, Desmond Howard went on to win an MVP and a Super Bowl. That is pretty heady company.
Now the all-time leader in return yards, combined return yards for Breston, as Grady is stopped just short of the goal line.
Everybody knows about Desmond Howard, and I'll tell you what, in the Big Ten and nationally, back in the early 80s, Anthony Carter, I mean, he was really the first elite, high-end skill player that I saw in the Big Ten back in the early 80s, and he was something to watch. Not only as a kick and punt returner, but he was a beautiful wide receiver to watch, and went on and had a heck of a career at the NFL level.
Playing for the Minnesota Vikings, good old number 81. Of course, he was number 1 here at Michigan. 1st and goal. And Grady spins and takes it in for the Wolverines touchdown. Grady's 3rd touchdown of the season.
Kevin Brady for the Michigan touchdown.
And Michigan has now scored 3 straight touchdowns after Indiana got on the board in its very first drive. Rivas. No good. The snap was a little shaky, and Rivas misses his 2nd point after of the season. But Kevin Grady punching it in from about a half a yard out, and Steve Breston helping to set up all these short fields has a reason to celebrate. Kevin Grady with a 1-yard touchdown run. Steve Breston setting it up with a 53-yard punt return. And Michigan now leading Indiana 20-7. Rivas did miss the point after. Lance Bennett lets it go through the end zone. Indiana takes over from the 20. As we go back to Bristol to check in with Matt Weinberg.
Blast him. All right, Pam, let's check in once again on Northwestern and Ohio State. And it's tough to win on the road when You get punts blocked and returned for touchdown. A.J. Hawk, the ball hawk, scoops that up. He'll score it. Buckeyes take a 21-7 lead. 13 minutes and change to go before halftime.
It seems to be typical Ohio State football, and Northwestern the kind of team that can't afford mistakes like that. Remember, there was a fumble return. Leon Hall took a Tyrell Sutton fumble 83 yards for a touchdown. Northwestern lost to Michigan a couple of weeks ago, and that time a special teams breakdown. Powers' pass is complete to Marcus Thigpen. Thigpen, the freshman from Detroit, picks up 7. We are joining you from Michigan Stadium, the Big House, on the campus of the University of Michigan. The Wolverines going for their 4th straight victory as they get ready for next week's matchup against Ohio State. And it has been the Steve Breston show, 135 all-purpose yards. He has a 47-yard kick return and also a 53-yard punt return to set up touchdowns. And him getting hit on an attempted punt return helped set up the other touchdown for Michigan. Pass is swung out, and he lost his shoe. Thigpen lost his shoe as flags come down. He is tackled down around the 28. And Thigpen collects his shoe.
Holding. Number 76 on the offense. That's a 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat, second down.
That's the very talented Isaac Souls getting flagged for that penalty. And it pushes Indiana back.
And Indiana, it's 9-1-1 time for the Hoosiers. You're trailing by 13 points early in the second quarter at Michigan. You mentioned Michigan has really put 3 quality wins together to put them in position to still contend for the Big Ten title. Terry Hepner's got to be worried here because you do not want to get the ball back in the hands of Chad Henne and company near midfield early in the second quarter. This one could be over early.
This field position has really been in Michigan's favor, and they have taken advantage of it. Powers with pressure unloads it to Washington out of the backfield, and Yamar, a pretty good pass-catching running back, tackled down by Jamar Adams.
And Washington is a nice compliment, a tailback to Taylor. And you know, Indiana, Pam, I think they're going to have to take a couple more cracks down the field in the passing game. They had success on the deep ball to Gilmore, the touchdown to open up the football game. They haven't gone back to that. And you know, if you keep throwing balls underneath, this Michigan defense will lean on you and they'll compress the field. I think that Blake Powers has to keep wide receivers running down the football field.
As you said, they did have great success in their first drive, taking it all the way down for the touchdown. And that one thrown underneath again. And should be a first down for Rhett Kleinschmidt. Kleinschmidt getting more playing time now with Bailey and Hardy out.
And Kleinschmidt's going to be working inside against Leon Hall. It's a quick crossing route, not a lot of room. I mean, Hall is a talented cornerback, a guy that can really stick to wide receivers. And, you know, on man-to-man coverage as a quarterback, you want to try to find receivers moving towards the middle of the field. Nice ball from Powers.
Kleinschmidt, a walk-on, grabbing that for the first down. Powers going up top and throwing it away as he had Gilmore there, but he was well covered. Let's go back to Matt Weiner.
All right, Pam, Oklahoma and Texas A&M this afternoon. You'll recall A&M's last visit to Norman was a 77-0 loss. Not going well in this one either. Adrian Peterson, second of the day, 4th in 2 games. Sooners up 28-7. Florida State and Florida both hit field goals, so the Seminoles trail 14-3 at Clemson. Florida down 7-3 at South Carolina.
And Pam, that Oklahoma squad shaky early with the losses to TCU and UCLA, but they have been playing awfully well in October and November.
Chris Taylor with a nice cut. Gets the first down, but a flag is down. Taylor with the best run of the day.
Ball carried by Chris
Gets
Taylor.
24, but a flag down by the line of scrimmage. So going to be another holding call.
Holding. Number 19 on the offense. That 10-yard penalty has been forced from the spot of the foul. Repeat, second down.
Well, and you cannot afford to make mistakes. This 2 first downs taken away on this drive for Terry Hepner's ball club, and that was Walker Roby, the freshman.
Indiana, the most penalized team in the Big Ten, and as David mentioned, a couple of big holding penalties on run plays as Terry Hepner pleads his case. So erase that 24-yard gain for Taylor, and they push it back 2nd and 14 now from the 27.
Hepner's got to be hot on the sideline to have a wide receiver get caught for holding on a play that was extremely well blocked up front by the Indiana offensive line.
Powers up top again, and it is intercepted. Prescott Burgess with the pick. And he is tackled down at the 16. So Blake Powers throwing his 13th pick of the season, and Michigan's in business again.
Now you fall down by 13 points, and as a quarterback, you start trying to make plays that aren't there. Burgess sitting in zone coverage. Burgess was a heck of a player at the high school level as a defensive back. Lloyd Carr loves to get speed at the linebacking positions, linebackers who can run, and Burgess has become a very solid linebacker at the college level. Powers, that's a big mistake. That's a mistake you might not be able to recover from.
Burgess' second career interception as Grady runs it down inside the 10. Burgess' other interception came back in the Rose Bowl against Texas in January. And Michigan right now on the cusp of piling it on.
Yeah, this offensive line for Michigan, tough early season injuries. And we talked about Jake Long at right tackle. Terry Malone, the offensive coordinator, thought that he might have his best offensive line that he's had at Michigan coming into the season, but the injuries changed that. This offensive line has gotten healthy late here in the season, though, Pam, and they're working well up front.
Really taking advantage of the bye week last week to help get some of the guys healthier as Grady is spun down around the 7-yard line. And when you talk about Jake Long missing the first 7 games, Reuben Riley filled in for him. This Michigan team trying to win its 4th straight football game. They were 3-3, and a lot of people just had given up on Michigan, including a lot of people who are in this area.
Well, the Penn State win was a big one, and I think the Michigan defense has held up their end of the bargain this year. Most points they've given up in a game was in that Penn State win for the Nittanies. The Nittany Lions scored 25.
But Michigan won it on the last play of the game. Henne zips it towards his intended receiver. And it is incomplete. It is 4th down, and everybody here is yelling go.
Well, it makes the decision a lot easier for Lloyd Carr when you're leading 20-7. And the way his defense is playing, even if you don't pick up the first down, you got Blake Powers and the Indiana offense backed up against their own goal line.
Mike Hart has not played today. We've been told that he is available. He has missed now the last 8 quarters of football, did not play at all against Northwestern 2 weeks ago as he is nursing a sore ankle, and they're going on 4th and 1. And again, it's Antonio Bass. And Bass steps out of bounds. They're going to mark him short of the first down. Will Myers with great pursuit, and Bass could not keep in bounds.
Yeah, it looked like Bass had the corner, and Will Myers comes up with a big play at strong safety to keep the Hoosiers in the game.
The last pass Blake Powers threw was intercepted by Prescott Burgess, and now Powers with the headphones on is on the bench, not hurt, but replaced by his backup Graham McFarland, who's only thrown 11 passes this season, has thrown a touchdown as a pitcher on the Indiana baseball team. And he hands it off to Chris Taylor, who is snowed under as soon as he gets the football.
An interesting move here by Hepner. I mean, Indiana's still in this football game, and I think Blake Powers really gives you the best chance to win this game, but he may be trying to make a point to his young quarterback. And McFarland didn't play a year ago, didn't participate on the team, and back in 2003, backed up Matt LaVecchio. He was a second-string quarterback in the 2003 season. Only has 11 attempts on the season, Pam. Not a lot of high-quality game experience.
Powers has been the man. Taylor again Gabe Watson coming up and making the stop. Now, Powers started out this game like gangbusters. In the first drive, he was 3 for 3 for 59 yards, including a 42-yard touchdown pass to Jakeem Gilmore. Since then, Blake 3 for 9 for 21 yards in the interception.
Yeah, I mean, he did play lights out on the opening drive, and he has not been solid. He's not been solid with his accuracy. Made a big mistake on the pick to Burgess, and I would think that Terry Hepner is going to let him watch for a little while on the sidelines, but I don't think we've seen the last of Blake Powers in this game.
Right now, 3rd and 11, so you think McFarland would have to put it up for the first time, and he doesn't. Taylor again, as a flag comes down, and Chris Taylor with some tough yards. He's been playing tough all afternoon, stopped just short of the first down, but again, a penalty flag.
Yeah, I think this might be another hold against an Indiana receiver. Jakeem Gilmore working on the perimeter, and you talk about huge mistakes by wide receivers in the run game.
Holding. Number 1 on the offense. That penalty will be assessed half the distance to the goal. Repeat 3rd down.
That is the 3rd holding penalty against Indiana, 2nd against a wide receiver.
Yeah, and Terry Hepner not real happy. Take a look at Gilmore working, and you can't collar Grant Mason, the cornerback, around the throat and not expect a flag. I mean, that is flagrant.
That's one of the most egregious holding penalties you're ever going to see. Indiana takes the timeout. They're down 20-7. Indiana has called timeout. They are facing a 3rd and 9 now from their 9. Graham McFarland, the backup quarterback, replacing Blake Powers in this series. As Michigan has scored 20 straight points in this game, and we're looking at, boy, if they have to punt now, another good field position coming up for the Wolverines.
Now, on the other side of the coin, if you're Graham McFarland, you got to be safe with the football. Can't have another turnover in your own red zone.
Graham's first pass of the day, and it sails a little bit high. Marcus Thigpen got both hands on it, but was unable to bring it down. And Indiana is going to have to punt from the end zone.
And the Hoosiers are going to have to get to more routes like that route. I don't think they're getting the ball down the field. Pam, they hit the big ball to Gilmore for the touchdown on the first drive. And I think they're going too much with the short passing game, and they're allowing the safeties for Michigan to get up along the line of scrimmage. And the Hoosiers are going to have to loosen things up in the Michigan secondary.
And number 15 waits at his 45. Tyson Beatty's 4th punt already. Last time Breston got his hands on it, it was a 53-yard return. Good hang time from the Aussie. Breston doesn't field it cleanly, but here he goes! Steve Breston, just unbelievable. Even when he bobbles the ball, he makes something out of it, getting it down to the 38-yard line.
Now, he has such a great knack for making the first coverage man miss, and just a nice burst of speed whenever he wants to turn it on.
And great field position again for the Michigan Wolverines. Let's take a look at today's AFLAC trivia question. Last season, Steve Breston set the Rose Bowl record with 315 all-purpose yards. We want to know whose mark did he break? Whose Rose Bowl record?
I'm going to take a shot with a former Michigan tailback, Tyrone Wheatley.
That's a great guess, but want me to give you a hint? How about O.J. Simpson?
Wow, you're taking me back to the late 60s and the juice.
That is a long-time record that Breston obliterated in that game against Texas. And as you mentioned earlier, David, that's something that's forgotten because Vince Young was so terrific as Beatty, the punter, is shaken up and helped off the field.
Yeah, some of the most dangerous plays in football happen in broken field situations on returns. Like a blow up around the chin area, up around the head.
And Beatty, a tough guy, is a punter, but he played Aussie rules football. He's from Adelaide, Australia. He was an all-Australian punter, set records for the national championship team there, and he also played cricket, a game you fancy, right, Dave?
Yeah, I'm big on tea and weekend-long events of cricket.
Nothing like a good old 3-day game.
I'm a big enthusiast. But, you know, look at Beatty there. I'm sure he's taken a couple hits without a helmet in Australian rules along those lines.
Yeah, those guys are crazy. He also swam and played baseball, basketball, the whole gamut. He's helped off the field. Here come the Wolverines, and a little trickery. But that pass is incomplete. They threw it back to Breston, and Breston short-hopped it back to Henne.
Preston tried to throw this ball on the line, and you look at Lloyd Carr. Lloyd Carr knows he had a touchdown. Chad Henne's going to raise up from center, throw a backwards pass to Preston, and all Preston has to do is keep this ball in the air long enough to get it to Henne. I mean, look at how they had things set up on the outside. I think Henne would have walked into the end zone.
So Preston with his first pass of the year, incomplete. And the professional, or at least as far as throwing the pass, the expert in throwing the pass, Henne, gets it out to Grady, who comes out of the backfield for an 8-yard gain. For more on Kevin Grady, the highly touted freshman, let's get down to Jimmy Dykes.
Well, Pam, those Michigan coaches yesterday were very high on Kevin Grady at 5'9", 228. He bench presses 370 pounds, runs a 4.440. And they've been high on this guy for quite a while. As an 8th grader, he came to the Michigan summer football camp. He was the strongest running back in camp, and the recruiting process was on. This is the guy that holds career rushing records, career TD records, career points scored in the state of Michigan. He is a load.
And just to reiterate, he was in 8th grade when he was the strongest running back in that camp. And now he shows you that strength and that speed. Grady, touchdown. Kevin Grady making his 2nd start of the year. That is his longest run of his young Michigan career. 32 yards and the touchdown. First time he's scored 2 touchdowns in a game at Michigan. And Rivas hits that extra point. And let's go back and take a look at Grady and his talent.
Defensive coordinators in the Big Ten are not going to have a fun time defensing both Grady and Hart in the years to come. And you look at the power and the compact build of a Grady. 5'9", 227 pounds, and look at him lower his pad level. Jimmy Dykes called him a load. He is a big-time north-south prospect at tailback. And, you know, when a guy like 5'9", 230 comes at you in the secondary, Pam, you don't see a lot but the top of the helmet and the shoulder pads when you're trying to tackle Grady. He is a star in the making.
And remember, Grady is playing because Michael Hart continues to nurse a sore ankle. A young man who hurt his hamstring earlier in the season, and Hart all smiles. I mean, that's a thing. Hart goes out, and this other kid comes in, and they don't seem to skip a beat.
Yeah, Hart had that hamstring early in the season, and he is really... That's been another reason that Chad Henne hasn't had the season this year that he had a season ago. We talked about the injuries on the offensive line, missing Mike Hart, Adrian Arrington, wide receiver that would have figured heavily into this offense. I really believe, Pam, if Michigan was a healthy offensive unit throughout this season, that this team would be in the running for a date in Pasadena.
Started out 3-3 on the season. Hart has completed 6 games this year. And all 6 games he ran for 100 yards, but he has been battling the injuries. And Lance Bennett, who's a pretty good return man himself, hasn't had a chance because the kicks have been so deep. So Michigan up 27-7, 27 straight points.
ESPN2's College Football, brought to you by Aflac. Buy your 2005 Aflac Holiday Duck at aflac.com. And Budweiser Select. Finally, bold taste meets a clean finish. Expect everything.
Michigan cheerleaders, plenty to cheer about today as their team fell behind 7-0, but it started to take over. Kevin Grady scoring the last couple of touchdowns, including a 32-yarder. As Graham McFarland stays in to play quarterback for Indiana, and that one is thrown to the guys on the sidelines. Let's go down to Matt Weiner.
All right, Pam, let's check in again with Minnesota at home against the Michigan State team trying to become bowl eligible. 7-3 game with Ryan Cupido. Finds his big, talented tight end, Matt Spate. 14-3 Gophers on top. 7 minutes to go.
Michigan State with that up and down season. Of course, they lost to Michigan this year in one of the several close games for the Wolverines, sort of, living on the edge in a lot of games this season. Minnesota finishing up with Iowa next week. Lamar Washington trying to get around, but that's a good tackle by Pat Massey at 6'8". The senior corrals him. Let's take a look at the Big Ten standings, and boy, everybody's bunched up.
Yeah, Penn State has the day off, and they have a date with Michigan State next week. And what a story that would be. Joe Paterno, 4 other teams in the running, but Joe Paterno comes up with a win against the Spartans, and what a story that will be. A lot of people thought the game had passed him by, that he wasn't keeping up with the times.
And were it not for that last play of the game touchdown against Michigan, they'd be unbeaten. And that one, fortunate that pass was not intercepted, as 3 Michigan players were around the football, including Brandon Engelman.
It's not going to get any easier for Graham McFarland and this Indiana offense. This Michigan defense, under the tutelage of Jim Herman, the defensive coordinator, they will tighten the screws on you in the run game, and then they will bring the pass rush. Indiana's going to have to hit a few balls down the field, or things could get worse in a hurry.
And this guy can make it worse in a hurry. You see Steve Breston already piling up the return yards. He has a 53-yard return and a 25-yard return, and this time Beatty kicks it close to the sidelines, and Breston bottled up and then hit Leslie Majors coming down to make the nice stop.
Well, that's the way you defend Steve Breston on punts. You get off about a 49-yard punt, and you pin Breston into the sideline. Easier said than done. That's a pretty impressive punt.
Good punt by Beatty, who got shaken up the last time he was out there. Indiana now with 4 3-and-outs, and when you're starting at the 37-yard line of the other guy, that's good stuff.
Now, that's not a recipe for an upset.
And right up the middle, that's Jerome Jackson.
Well, carried by Jerome Jackson.
As we check back in with Matt Weiner.
All right, South Carolina and Florida today. Gamecocks have got it going offensively. Blake Mitchell to Sidney Rice, his go-to guy inside the 10. Couple plays later, it's Marcus Davis, 1 yard. And the old ball coach is up 14-3 on the alma mater.
Thank you, Matt. Michigan here starting this drive from the 30, their worst field position of the day, as Jackson picked up 3 yards on first down. Jackson and Grady have been the running backs today. Henne looking to go up top, and he finds his man Avant. Jason Avant streaking across the field in Indiana territory at the 45.
Chad Henne is getting better with his pocket movement. And there's a quarterback that played in the late 90s at Michigan by the name of Brady. And Brady has become such a great player in the pocket, moving, using his feet, resetting and throwing the football. And we saw a little bit from Henne on that last play. It's moving up in the pocket, resetting and throwing a nice ball.
Of course, Henne just a sophomore. Here's a reverse. And Breston coming around. Steve Breston picking up and piling up more yardage. And he is finally taken down at the 15. Get the ball in the hands of Breston and he hurts you. That's 30 yards.
Take a look at Chad Henne after the handoff. He's going to get outside, and Henne's going to get a nice block on the perimeter right there. And then Breston turning on his open field skills. Jason Avant, the wide receiver for the Wolverines, doing a pretty nice job down the field as well.
So Steve Breston continuing to hurt Indiana in every way conceivable today. As Josh Moore, who was in on the tackle, paid the price as he is helped off the field. Again, this Indiana defense already hamstrung. They're down 2 starters today. Russ Richardson, who got hurt last week, and John Panozzo, their middle linebacker, who broke his hand a couple of weeks ago. And Steve Breston is outgaining Indiana by himself.
Now, he doesn't show any signs of slowing down. You don't want to turn him loose in the open field, and Indiana has done it way too many times here in the first half.
So Henne and company set up 1st and 10 from the 15 as Breston takes a break. Jackson in the backfield. Henne, plenty of time, and that one is thrown deep in the corner over Avant's head, and Chad Henne showing he's not just a quarterback, he's a blocker.
Well, and on a reverse as a quarterback, you're called upon to get the block on the edge, usually against the defensive end. This time it's Grossfield, the strong safety, but Breston just needs just a sliver of daylight, and he's very effective in the open field. Jason Avant, as we mentioned, if you're going to play wide receiver for Lloyd Carr and for Terry Malone, you have to get at it. You got to get busy downfield blocking as a wide receiver.
Terrific block by Henne on that play to help spring Breston. Now 2nd and 10 after the incompletion in the end zone, and zipped it. Avant able to go behind himself, behind his body to gather it in. His 4th catch of the day, good for 9 yards.
Well, and Chad Henne has a receiver in Avant that catches literally everything. That is not a very well thrown ball. And when you're going inside and you're facing contact, you're in traffic, it's tough to maintain your concentration and catch a ball that's thrown with some velocity and thrown behind you. I mean, that is a big-time play by Avant on the quick slant.
Well, 2-time second team All-Big Ten, also 2-time academic All-Big Ten. And on 3rd down, Jackson bowls his way towards the end zone and gets in. What an effort from Jerome Jackson as he made his way into the end zone.
Now this Indiana defense, all they have to do is look back to a week ago, and this must feel a lot like the second half against Minnesota when the Golden Gophers mauled them up front. And Jackson, a great effort, second effort, stretching the ball over the goal line. And went over the 100-yard mark against Northwestern a couple weeks ago, scored the winning touchdown in overtime against Iowa. He has had a real resurgence.
The junior from Saginaw always wanted to play for Michigan. His dream has come true. Rivas adds the extra point, and Jackson using a lot of power to make it 34-7.
We're bringing together a whole world of information, and it fits in the palm of your hand. In her lifetime, who knows how small the world will feel?
Advancing our understanding of genetics gives everyone the opportunity for a healthy life.
We're finding new ways to help businesses get going. Stay in Indiana. Be successful.
The arts speak to everyone, but they also speak for everyone.
This will be a remarkable century of discovery.
For all of us in Indiana.
Indiana University, at work in your neighborhood.
Big Ten football is a special tradition.
More than 5.5 million fans pack our stadiums each year, making Big Ten football what it is today.
So respect the game and show good sportsmanship, because the Big Ten sets an example for everyone to follow.
Before, during, and after the game.
Big Ten football.
Another touchback is Lance Bennett. Decides not to bring it out. Talented return. We've not seen him be able to show his stuff because of all the touchback. And Michigan has now scored 34 straight points on Indiana. Graham McFarland coming in to play quarterback. Now he's turned to put the headphones on as he came in to spell Blake Powers, who had a fabulous first drive and struggled ever since.
Terry knows that Blake Powers is not only his quarterback for this season, but he's a quarterback of the future for Indiana. He's a talented passer, and sometimes when you're not getting the play that you want your quarterback, you got to sit him down for a couple of series.
And he did just that, sat him down for 2 series, and the first pass is complete. Goes first hand for his running back. Taylor coming in on the season at 13 catches as he is knocked down by David Harris.
I'll tell you, Pam, you'd be surprised how quickly you start to focus as a quarterback and you get your mental acuity back and get trapped in on what's going on in the field when you get that down because you realize in a hurry quickly you may be out of the playing picture, and it's not a lot of fun over there on the sidelines when backup's gone in for you and your head coach is down on it.
Sending that message. Now Powers is back in. Was ineffective in his series, and now Powers has hanging on to it, and it's greeted by Prescott Burgess. Burgess has an interception today, and that time a tackle on Powers.
Yeah, that was a mix-up in the backfield. And every now and then when you play quarterback at the college level, you take a snap and you look for the handoff, and tailback isn't on the same track you anticipate. And as a quarterback, you got to tuck it and move it forward.
See, the first possession was as good as it gets for Indiana. They scored on a 42-yard touchdown play from Powers to Jakeem Gilmore, and since then, 5 punts and an interception. And they're in a deep, dark hole, and that one is thrown behind Taylor as pressure coming up again towards Powers. Let's go back to Matt Weiner.
All right, with Jim Donnan preparing for the Pontiac Performance halftime report. Still 5 teams with a shot at a share of the Big Ten title. At least one of those will be eliminated this afternoon. Our game day cruise in Alabama, where the Crimson Tides try to mess up the BCS. And Steve Spurrier, the old ball coach, against his old school.
He's having a lot of fun against his old school, taking him to the woodshed right now.
Gamecocks and Gators on our rundown for the Pontiac Performance halftime report coming up.
We look forward to going to the woodshed.
Those old Southern coaches, they have a way of putting it, don't they?
Jim Donnan, looking forward to joining those guys at halftime as Powers again forced and flushed out of the pocket. And this Michigan defense firing on all cylinders as Morgan Trent, a former wide receiver, makes the stop. And here comes the punt team. And here comes Steve Breaston. Breaston has been wonderful so far today. As Michigan takes a timeout, we step aside. It's 34-7 Michigan, but Steve Breaston's going to have the ball in his hands when we come back.
Big Ten football is a special tradition.
More than 5.5 million fans pack our stadiums each year, making Big Ten football what it is today.
So respect the game and show good sportsmanship, because the Big Ten sets an example for everyone to follow.
Before, during, and after the game.
Big Ten football. Good sports make great fans.
Michigan about to get the football back again. They've scored 34 straight points to take this lead on Indiana. And Steve Breaston, who has had a play of at least 23 yards in every scoring drive, is getting ready to head back onto the field and collect a punt.
Yeah, and Breaston's really put his stamp on this football game. And, you know, the Indiana Hoosiers came into this game 24-point underdogs. You had to figure that they had to play almost a perfect game on defense and force Chad Henne to put the ball up, force Chad Henne. Hope you catch Henne on a bad day. That hasn't happened. And this Michigan defense has been as good as advertised.
Indiana had 4 first downs in its first possession, and they've only had 2 since. 6th punt for Tyson Beatty. And again, angling towards the sideline. Good strategy as it goes out of bounds around the 30, but keep it out of Breaston's hands.
Yeah, the good news is you don't have to look at Breaston on the return. The bad news is the Michigan offense that scored 34 unanswered is going to take the field again.
It's like pick your poison. Only a 35-yard net punt for Beatty, but Breaston, who's been killing them on punt returns and kick returns, he's got a 30-yard run today, 23-yard catch. At least he didn't get the ball that time.
I've really liked the game plan that Terry Malone has put together for Michigan. He's done a great job on the short passes, the hitches, Henne raising up at the line of scrimmage and getting the ball in the hands of a very talented crew. Manningham and Avant, Breaston, Bass.
And he's done a great job of spreading the ball around. And now he's got plenty of time to choose his receiver, and it's his favorite target. Jason Avant caught that in front of Chris Phillips for a first down.
And when we talk to the Michigan coaches, when we sit down with Lloyd Carr and Terry Malone, they talk about Henne and his ability, and they say he has the potential to be the best quarterback that they've had here at Michigan. I mean, he has all the tools, and that was an NFL ball we just saw from Chad Henne.
18 yards. He's now 14 for 19 on the day is Henne. As they picked up that first down.
Charge timeout, Indiana. Their second charge timeout.
Terry Hepner taking the timeout to talk to his defense, which must be getting pretty tired. A lot more football coming your way today on ABC. Regional doubleheader action continues at 3:30 Eastern. Some will see USC California, Kansas Texas, others Miami Wake, or Georgia Tech Virginia. Those of you on the West Coast get Arizona State UCLA at 4 Pacific time. Check the local listings for the games in your area. And of course, the last time USC lost a football game was to California a couple years ago.
And that was a wild affair and a game that you really wonder how USC could have lost that game. Overtime against Cal. We take a look at Henny and his offensive coordinator Terry Malone. And Terry Malone was the offensive line coach when they won the national title back in '97. And took over the offensive coordinator job in 2002. And when I talk and the Michigan coaches talk about Henny maybe being the best quarterback since they've been here at Michigan, I think they're talking at the college level. Right? Quarterback's got a long ways to go to become as good as Tom Brady has become at the pro level. But Henny, I think he has an excellent chance to become a real top-notch quarterback in the Big Ten and the national scene.
And of course, Brady didn't get a whole lot of playing time at Michigan until his senior season, and came into New England, was Bledsoe's backup, and Drew got hurt. And that's probably the ultimate Wally Pipp story as far as football is concerned. He has been magnificent.
Knocking on the door and can't.
Here comes Kevin Grady. Grady with a couple of touchdown runs today, breaks free and gets it down to the 33-yard line. Chalk up 18 more yards for the true freshman.
You know, the line on Grady is he's really a bowling ball, a sledgehammer type back, north-south. He's shown some nice lateral ability in the first half.
Michigan gets to the line quickly. And this time Grady on the receiving end. He's taken down by Kyle Killian. It's Grady's third catch of the day. Killian, the senior from King, Texas, comes from a football playing family. Goes back and John Pinozzo. It was an Indiana defense that was thin anyway. Those injuries to Richardson and Pinozzo really hurt him. Henny, underneath, complete. And stepping out of bounds is Mario Manahan as he stops the clock with 52 seconds left. Picks up first down.
Michigan leading 30-7. 52 seconds to go. Got a couple timeouts. They're approaching this clock. I like it. Game's in doubt, and I like that. You don't get a chance to get these kind of clock drives and get time to work often in game situations. I like the way that Henny is approaching this very businesslike, moving the team quickly under clock status.
This could certainly help out next week in Ohio State. And Henny over the head of Massacre. And the clock stops with 46 left to go.
And our own Jimmy Dyke talked about the altering of Henny's throwing motion. You know, typically you don't want to alter the throwing motion of a quarterback this late in his career. At college level, late in your career, and he has a wide open receiver. I mean, this should be pitch and catch for 6 with Henny's ability, and you can tell the ball was halfway to the wide receiver, and Henny knew that he let that ball sail. Jimmy Dyke talked about cutting the football. Henny cut the ball on that release.
2nd and 10. Jackson with the carry. And he is taken down around the 25-yard line, picks up 4. Geno Johnson, a true freshman, making the stop for the Hoosiers.
Well, that's what timeouts do for you inside a minute to go in the half. In a clock drive, they allow you to take a shot or two in the running game because you can use that timeout and stop the clock immediately. Michigan's going to talk it over.
So the timeout now with 40 seconds left to go as Michigan has it 3rd and 6 from the 15. All right, Big Ten Coach of the Year. Here are your possibilities. Barry Alvarez with his last home game today at Wisconsin. Joe Pa and Randy Walker's done wonderful things with the Northwestern team. Not many people thought had a chance this year, but I would vote for Paterno because after what happened last year, they were dreadful last year.
Well, if Paterno wins next week, I think hands down he wins. But Barry Alvarez, what I'd say to Barry Alvarez is you're at the top of your game. You don't need to be retiring right now. I mean, he is one of the best in college football. I think he has some years left. And Randy Walker, Northwestern better get together with Randy Walker and sign him to a 10-year deal. No coach does more with less in college football than Randy Walker. I love that guy. I think he takes players that are overmatched from time to time, get some good skill players like Tyrell Sutton and Basney in the mix, and he works wonders. And he has had, I think it's been really a dream season for Northwestern, even though they won't win the Big Ten title this year. They're up against Ohio State today. They still have a shot, but what a job Randy Walker has done.
And as dreadful as their defense is, they still have a winning record. Third down now for Henne after the timeout, and that's a penalty as Leslie Majors was all over the back of Mario Manningham.
And that's just nice body position and use of the body by Manningham.
Number 28 on the defense. By rule, that ball is placed at the spot of the foul and an automatic first down.
And Manningham runs a crisp route on that play, and Majors had nothing he could do except go right through the back of the receiver to get to the football. And that's just good execution between a quarterback and a wide receiver with both the ball placement and the route that Manningham ran on the play.
That is the 7th penalty against Indiana, setting up first down from the 11. Any little play action into the end zone. A couple of Indiana defenders on Massaquoi, and that one falls incomplete. Now 30 ticks left.
You know, when you have a quarterback like Henne, and he played at such a high level as a true freshman last year, 25 touchdowns, and Pasadena had the big game, Pam, against Texas. But you feel like you can fit the ball in almost anywhere. He has supreme confidence in his throwing arm. And, you know, he hit Ecker with that touchdown in the first half. He was trying to fit another one into tight space in the end zone on that last play.
Instead, it falls incomplete. Now 2nd and 10 with 30 seconds left to go from the 11. End zone, looking for Breaston. Perfect. Touchdown, Michigan. What a game for Steve Breaston.
Well, Henne's had a couple balls to the corners. Corner routes and also fade routes where he's overshot his receivers in the first half. But on this ball, he gets a great route from Breaston. And Breaston establishes that vertical threat, then breaks the route off to the corner. And this time, Henne throws a perfect ball.
It's only fitting that Breaston, who has hurt them in so many areas of the game, should score a touchdown today, his 2nd touchdown catch of the season. And Rivas now makes it 41 straight Michigan points. So Steve Breaston has been hurting Indiana in the return game, and now he crunches them with a touchdown catch.
Look at the classic delivery from Henne. And, you know, you talk to scouts at the NFL level, and believe me, they're already looking at players with Henne's type talent as a sophomore. They say, hey, he might have a little bit of a long delivery, drops the ball down a little bit, but I think Henne's deliveries look tight in this game at times. And how about the game Breaston's having, Pam?
Let's take a look at what Steve Breaston has done. The all-purpose yards now up to $173. See his catches. He also has a run, a 30-yard run, 47-yard kick return, and now he's got himself a touchdown.
And he was coming into this season, and Braylon Edwards a year ago, the number 3 pick in the NFL draft. Edwards had 97 catches for Michigan a year ago, but Breaston was the guy that was going to pick up the slack. You know, play opposite Avant, and the injury problems, you know, not only an issue along the offensive front, not only an issue with Mike Hart and several spots in the defense, but Breaston really was slowed early in this season, and we've gotten an idea of how he can play this afternoon.
Ross Ryan, who's the punter and the kickoff specialist, has been terrific as he keeps getting touchback after touchback. So Ryan does his job again, not having to punt today, so his leg is nice and fresh, and he's been kicking those kickoffs through the end zone. So 23 seconds left now for Indiana. They've been steamrolled now, 41 straight points for Lloyd Carr's crew, but no Mike Hart. We were told that he was available to play today, but they certainly don't need to play.
Yeah, and with Ohio State coming up next week, I think your first priority, especially with a 34-point lead, is and make sure you have a healthy Mike Hart for the Buckeyes.
Indiana with 1 timeout left, still coming out throwing, but pressure up the middle from Gabe Watson forces Powers to throw it down.
Indiana really overmatched, and the problem started with the loss of John Pinozzo at the middle linebacker spot. Everything comes back to defense on this Hoosier squad, and they have not been able to stop teams over the last 5-6 weeks of the season, and it's been too much of a load for this offense to bear.
Get into the teeth of the Big Ten season. Their only Big Ten win came against Illinois as Washington slices his way for a couple of yards. Burgess, Engelman making the stop. And that's going to do it for the first half. Indiana scoring the first time they got the football. Since then, it has been all maize and blue and a lot of Steve Breaston, 203 all-purpose yards and a touchdown. Now let's join Matt Weiner now in the studio along with Jim Donnan for the Pontiac Performance Halftime Report.
Welcome to the Pontiac Performance Halftime Report.
And sorry to interrupt the Steve Breaston show. Man, he was unbelievable in the first half. He could just stay in the locker room if he wants to. But this Michigan team now on a little bit of a roll. Looks like they're going to win their 4th straight headed to the Ohio State game. What does this mean for the Buckeyes?
Well, it's collision course. Two teams really functioning well on offense. And the thing that's impressing me is the way this Michigan team's playing defense right now. All year, if their offense would have played up to that, they might be undefeated.
About to get their 14th straight win against Indiana in that series, with the Buckeyes looming next week. Speaking of Ohio State, part of a Big Ten race, very cluttered at the top. 5 teams with at least a shot at a share of the conference title. We'll show you how everyone's faring so far when we return.
Welcome back to the Pontiac Performance Halftime Report.
A whole lot of Steve Breaston, and after an impressive opening drive by Indiana, almost no offense from the Hoosiers, who trail it 41-7 at the half at the Big House. Back in the Pontiac Performance Halftime Report, the Big Ten is an interesting situation at the top. Northwestern, one of the teams still technically with a shot at a share of the conference title, but first they would have to beat Ohio State in back-to-back years for the first time since 1962-63. Got started well. Brett Bazinet scrambling, bought some time, found his freshman Tyrell Sutton in for the score. Wildcats up 7-0. That's his 18th touchdown of the season. Troy Smith, 4-yard run, spinning, found the paint, extra point good, game tied at 7. Northwestern punting, but it's snuffed.
How about A.J. Hawk here? He shows you why he's one of the finalists for the Butkus Award. These kind of plays help him win it.
Good hands, great speed. All those Buckeye linebackers can run. They lead it 28-7. Smith now has 10 rushing touchdowns this year. 4th time he's had at least 2 in a game this season, and they're up by 3 touchdowns at the break in Columbus. Lawrence Maroney giving it a go before the game. The bruised ankle would not allow him to play, so Minnesota minus the leading rusher against Michigan State, but Gary Russell not half bad himself. Brian Cupido found him. 56 yards later, he's down to the Spartan 8.
Pretty good second team back.
Not bad. He's going to wind up with 1,000 yards himself this year. Matt Hawley has it blocked by William Van de Steeg on the field goal attempt. Michigan State 4 for 13 on field goal attempts this year. Ouch. Brian Cupido, play action. It was big tight end Matt Spaeth. Spaeth's found some space. Gophers get another score. They lead it 21-3. What has happened to this Spartan team?
Well, they just self-destruct every week.
And go back to that Notre Dame game and how good they looked against the Irish, and it's been pretty much downhill from there. They're still looking for their 6th win to get themselves bowl eligible. Illinois and Purdue. Purdue with 1 Big Ten win. Illinois still looking. Corey Sheets, 18-yard touchdown run. The Boilers go up 10-0 on their home field. Less than 30 seconds left in the first half. Illinois with the ball. Tim Brasic, nowhere to go. Lost it. Boilers take it. Couldn't convert, so it remains 10-0. Now into the 3rd quarter there. Not much to say about these two teams at this point.
Hey, Purdue gonna get a chance for 2 in a row.
2 in a row, that's exactly right. Purdue and Indiana for the old Oak and Bucket, and not a whole lot else coming up.
The Pontiac Performance Halftime Report is powered by Pontiac. Nominate your game-changing performance at ESPN.com. Keyword Pontiac. This is the Pontiac Performance Halftime Report.
The old ball coach facing the old ball club, the alma mater, Florida and South Carolina. Chris Leak throwing, it's tipped and then picked off by Chris Tucker. And Chris, Tucker and run.
Burma Road. He's on the Burma Road right here. Watch him knock him over. This guy doesn't want to give it up. He almost takes it to the house.
290 pounds of ball carrier, and Tucker takes it inside the 5. He's fired up, and as well he should be. Mike Davis, this is a pretty good run too. But then again, this is what he does. Up and over for the score.
How wasn't that celebration when last week that guy from Vanderbilt only took one step?
Yeah, it was crazy. Blake Mitchell to the talented freshman Sidney Rice. Nice grab, 19 yards. It would set up Dacus Turman, 1-yard touchdown.
How about the old ball coach? 3 rushing touchdowns against his alma mater.
Not what you would expect from Steve Spurrier. South Carolina leads it 20-12. The odd number for Florida came on a blocked extra point that they returned to Carolina's end zone. That is worth 2 points. Mitchell just 5 of 13, but he's gotten a lot out of that. Our game day crew also set up an SEC country for the LSU-Alabama showdown. Here's Chris Fowler.
What a day in the SEC. Weird and wonderful. Big ball games and very strange bedfellows. Yes, Georgia has to root for Steve Spurrier. And yes, of course, Auburn has to root for Alabama to beat LSU. They have to root for the Crimson Tide to begin rolling on offense after, yes, you know it, 1 offensive touchdown in the last 13 quarters. No third down conversions in the third quarter of those last 3 games. I mean, what gives?
Well, I think Bama's defense is going to be the big key in this game. I think they're going to be able to create some confusion with variety of looks, get the ball back to their offense in a short field. The other thing I think you're going to see is Keith Brown and DJ Hall. As maligned as this offense has been, Lee, I think they can make some plays if they give Croyle enough time to throw the ball downfield in the pass game. I like Alabama.
I like LSU, and I tell you what, I like them. I know Alabama's defense is great, but I think Jamarcus Russell makes some big plays on broken plays. And I think that's the secret. Skylar Green on bubble screens, broken plays, and I like LSU to win.
All right, now they'll try to ignore this game this afternoon and then play tonight. Auburn visiting Georgia. What happens between the hedges? DJ Shockley says he's about 90% in terms of lateral movement.
You know, everybody talked about Al Borges last year and a great job that he did with Jason Campbell and Ronnie Brown and Cadillac Williams. I think he's doing an even better job this year with some young, inexperienced players coming into the year. I think that's the difference. His attitude as an offensive coach and play caller, and Brandon Cox's composure to go along with Kenny Irons. Yeah. I like that combination. I like Auburn to upset Georgia in Athens.
I like Georgia's football team because I love their offensive line. They run the tailback by committee. They have 1,000 yards rushing from that tailback position. DJ Shockley's back. The defense at home. I like the Bulldogs.
All right. Something to keep in mind in this ball game. There have only been 4 teams that are 9-0, underdogs at home, going all the way back to 1988. Those 4 teams all won. It hasn't happened in 9 years. I mean, it's a rare occasion. Yep. We'll see if Alabama can gain some much-needed respect and set up a big showdown at Auburn next weekend. That's the story now from Tuscaloosa on a beautiful Saturday. Let's go back to the studio.
Oh, you're right, Chris. Alabama about as disrespected as you can get for a 9-0 team in the top 5 in the country. It's because they got to score some points sooner or later to win one of these games.
Yeah, they really do. And I think the real key is Taylor Britt, the center that's coming in there and transfer from UAB. He's got a terrific opportunity to go down in Alabama history like Bear Bryant, because he's going to need to block these 2 great defensive tackles that the LSU Tigers bring into the game today.
LSU's going to have to find a way to score as well against a team that's allowed 6 points combined to its last 3 opponents. And Chris and the guys mentioned the Auburn-Georgia game as well. Theoretically, if Florida loses, Georgia could already be in the SEC title game by the time this kicks off. A weird series where the road team has fared better than the home team, but DJ Shockley back for Georgia between the hedges.
Yeah, 9 out of the last 10 Auburn's won there between the hedges.
7:45 Eastern time on ESPN, Auburn and Georgia. All Michigan at the Big House, 41-7 back to Ann Arbor in just a few.
The Pontiac Performance Halftime Report is powered by Pontiac. Nominate your game-changing performance at ESPN.com. Keyword Pontiac.
Think you've seen the play of the week? Stay tuned for Game Day Final powered by Pontiac, where we'll reveal the finalists for the Pontiac Game-Changing Performance of the Week. Log on to ESPN.com, keyword Pontiac, and the Pontiac Game-Changing Performance logo, and vote for your favorite play. Bowden Bowl 7. Tommy Bowden has more pressing concerns than facing his father, trying to get Clemson bowl eligible. 2 shots at it at 5-4, starting with Florida State. Charlie Whitehurst at Chancey Stuckey. 7-0 Tigers. Later in the first, still 7-0. Here comes James Davis.
Back off an injury. He means a lot to that offense. He can power it up in there.
Team up 14-0. But the play of the day, in between the first and second quarter, this is Chris Bostic for $1 million.
Hey, I've seen some $1 million throws before, but that's all world.
An Army veteran, appropriately enough, on this Veterans Day weekend, $1 million. You ever throw $1 million pass? Wow. That's not worth $1 million, but it's worth 6 points for the Seminoles. The blocked punt. Geno Hayes pops on it in the end zone. That ties it up after the 2-point conversion. 14-all now into the third quarter. Maryland trailing at North Carolina as the Heels have an outside shot at becoming bowl eligible as well if they can win 2 out of their final 3 games. Oklahoma, they're on a roll. Texas A&M in Norman. There's Adrian Peterson, 10 yards. Sooners up 7-0. Healthy Peterson, so much better.
Looks like the old Adrian Peterson.
6-yard touchdown, 14-0. Red Bomar on the play action. Having Peterson back there helps you on that play as well. 21-0. Aggies get on the board in the second quarter. Reggie McNeil, Courtney Lewis, 5 yards. 28-14, so A&M already faring better than their last trip to Norman when they lost 77-0. Elsewhere around the country, Navy and Notre Dame. Notre Dame looking for its 42nd straight win over the Middies. Just 14-7, though, with 5 minutes and change to go in the second quarter. Brady Quinn has another touchdown pass. Division III games. Trinity looking for its 30th straight win against Wesleyan. 63-7. That would appear to be a comfortable game in the 120th meeting between Amherst and Williams. And Williams leads it by 10 in the third quarter. They first met in 1884. You like Steve Breston? Well, you enjoyed the first half. He was everywhere for the Wolverines. More Breston, more Big Blue coming up right after this.
Getting ready to start the second half. Indiana scored on its first possession, but since then Michigan is being Michigan as they have scored 41 straight points. They lead at 41-7 at the break. Pam Moore joined by David Norrie. Jimmy Dykes is also here with us at Ann Arbor. And this Michigan team, David, started off the season 3-3, but right now it looks like they're firing on all cylinders.
I think they're one of the top 5-6 teams in the country the way they're playing right now. The defense, as Coach Donnan said back in the studio, really keen this attack. The offense starting to find their rhythm, and Steve Breston in the first half, 8 touches, 201 all-purpose yards.
And he is doing it in just about every way conceivable. His punt returns, kick returns. This is the opening kick return for Breston. That set up good field position as he got hit by Tracy Porter, and then a sparkling punt return. He has 78 yards of punt return yards, 47 on a kick return. How about a 30-yard run on a reverse? And he also has 43 receiving yards. He is accounting for 46% of Michigan's all-purpose yards, and there he catches an 11-yard touchdown pass from Chad Henne. So it has indeed been the Steve Breston show here in the first half. 203 all-purpose yards. He is second in all-time Big Ten punt return yards to Jim Leonard, who had a wonderful career at Wisconsin. And we still have a half of football to go. So Breston looking at a career day, perhaps, in all-purpose yards. And wisely, they don't kick to number 15, as it is taken by one of the up men. They'll start at the 25. Let's go to Jimmy Dykes.
Well, Pam, I talked to Lloyd Carr as he's going off for the first half. I said, Coach, was there anything wrong with your first half of football? He said, yeah, the opening drive, I'm getting ready to talk about that to my defense, and why did we miss the extra point? He confirmed we will not see Mike Hart in this football game. I then spoke with Terry Hepner as he came out of the locker room for Indiana. Said, Coach, how much do you miss your 2 receivers, Bailey and Hart? He said, yes, we miss them, but they are not a part of our kicking game, which cost us crucial field position the entire first half. And he did say, Dave Norrie, that he sat Blake Powers down just for a couple of series to calm him down, make sure he doesn't get rattled after the INT. But he said, there's no question Blake Powers is my guy.
As well he should be for the next couple of years. We have a quarterback change now for Michigan as Mac Gutierrez comes in, the senior. Taking over for Henne as Kevin Grady gets the carry, and Matt is a senior who came into Michigan and was well known out of Southern California, and did not play at all last season because of right shoulder surgery. Enter Chad Henne, and Gutierrez has really not played much at all.
Yeah, in the second half, Lloyd Carr is going to get an opportunity to get deep into his depth chart, and I would say that officially, as of halftime in this game, the Ohio State week has begun.
They do play Ohio State next week, and remember, they made an effort, Michigan, all week in practice not to look past this game, and so far they have not, as Grady gets another catch and gets a Michigan first down. Should be very close, in fact, should have it. Gutierrez coming into this game had thrown 11 passes, completed 8 of them for 98 yards.
Well, for a team like Michigan that can recruit like Michigan, you've got a lot of talent in the second and third string positions, and it's a real benefit to get up 41-7 in a game because you get players deep in your depth chart into the game. You get them game experience. There's nothing like being able to play on the field here in Ann Arbor in a game situation. Great opportunity for improvement.
Grady again getting the carry, picking up about 3 yards. Kyle Killian coming in to make the stop. And boy, Jimmy Dykes mentioned that the two leading receivers for Indiana not playing today. James Bailey on academic suspension for the rest of the season. His status will be reassessed at the end of the semester. And James Hardy leading this team with 57 catches, 105 yards per game through the air. He's hurt. Neither of those guys available. So already you're sort of on the short end of the stick, and then you lose your two best receivers.
Missing those receivers doesn't help, and they've had to go with tight ends and shore things up. But still, I don't think this Indiana team is playing well, whether those wide receivers are in the mix or not.
As a first down catch by Antonio Bass. They are missing a lot of guys. We already mentioned the two Jameses, Hardy and Bailey, and you see their numbers. And you're missing on the season 84 catches, almost 1,200 yards of offense. And this is a team that doesn't have a lot of weapons anyway.
No, Hardy has the big numbers. Came into the Minnesota game a week ago as a leading receiver in the Big Ten. And Bailey is a playmaker. He's a guy who can get down the field. And right now, Indiana is dearly missing those players in the passing offense. But as a team, Indiana having major matchup problems in October and November.
As Grady gets into Indiana territory, and they're missing two starters on the defensive side of the football as well. Russ Richardson hurt his knee in the very first series against Minnesota last week. And then John Pinozzo, who's a great story. Pinozzo, who is here today, was a fullback his first 3 years. And there's no fullback in Terry Hepner's offensive system, so he became a middle linebacker and a pretty darn good one.
Yeah, he was playing at a high level. There's John Pinozzo. As we mentioned last week, it wasn't supposed to end this way. Pinozzo was supposed to go out as a senior, as a healthy player, and finish off the Big Ten schedule, and it just didn't work out that way.
Jackson getting the carry, stopped about 3 yards short of the first down. Good look at Pinozzo, and you see his numbers on the season. And he was really helped Kyle Killian, who had been the middle linebacker, move to the outside and help John. And his first start at linebacker, all he did was become Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week for a great effort against Central Michigan.
Yeah, and we just got to look at Kyle Killian, who is probably the most productive member of the linebacker crew left on the squad. Killian's been forced back inside at the middle linebacker position. Indiana very short-handed along that front seven.
And you can't be short-handed against Michigan, as Gutierrez's pass to Manningham sails high, and we're going to see Ross Ryan punt for the first time today. We've seen him with a lot of kickoffs, all of them going for touchbacks, but now Ryan comes in for his first punt.
Ready to go.
Indiana has a talented return man themselves in Lance Bennett, number 3. We have not seen him do anything because of all the touchbacks. He's on Indiana's track team.
Toss right to punt.
Haven't seen a lot of punts. That's for sure.
4th and 3, the first Michigan punt, and Bennett waves his arms away. And that one will roll dead around the 10-yard line. So the defense stops Michigan, but still good field position if you're a Michigan fan, because Indiana has to start from the 10. Michigan has punted for the first time today, and Indiana coming to take the ball now at the 10. Blake Powers, the quarterback for the Hoosiers. Scored the first touchdown of the game, but it's been all maize and blue since. Chris Taylor, the senior running back, gets it and picks up a couple of yards. Let's take a look now at the Big Ten standings. We mentioned that coming into play today, 5 teams had a chance to either win or get a share of the Big Ten title. Penn State controlling its own destiny, not playing today.
Yeah, it looks like Northwestern is going to fall by the wayside. We talked about the season they've had for Randy Walker. What a great story, but November separates the pretenders from the contenders for the true title, and looks like it's going to be Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, and depending on how Wisconsin does later on this afternoon, you might have 4 teams going into that next week, Pam, with a shot.
Taylor losing a couple yards on that carry, and also Iowa is a football team taking on Wisconsin later today. Barry Alvarez staying on as the athletic director at Wisconsin. This is his last game as the head coach. What a great career. Boy, just taking that program and turning it into one of the powerhouses. But Iowa has to come up with another win to get bowl eligible, and we have them next week in the Pig game, the Floyd of Rosedale game, Minnesota and Iowa.
Yeah, Floyd of Rosedale. I'd like to own Floyd of Rosedale myself.
We'll get to see that, but Iowa's got to come up with another win to get bowl eligible. And they have a tough one today against Wisconsin, and then that rivalry game against Minnesota next week. Powers with time, and he throws behind his intended receiver, Rhett Kleinschmidt, and that is a quick 4 and out for this Indiana offense.
Yeah, and that really kind of sums up this Indiana offense at this point in the season. Powers trying to hit Kleinschmidt on a crossing route at about 4 yards. I mean, he was just going to take that ball out of bounds, and Indiana was still going to be forced to punt. Indiana not having a lot of success getting receivers down the field.
Called it a 4 and out. Obviously, it's a 3 and out. Now the punt for Tyson Beatty, his 7th, and Steve Breston is no longer the return man. They're going with Mario Manningham. So Breston, if the first half belonged to him, let's see what Manningham can do. Boy, that's a good tackle as he was taken down by an Indiana player who has stayed down, and here comes a penalty flag. I think some frustration right now brewing for this Indiana team. That's a 48-yard punt and a 17-yard return.
There are penalty markers down on that play.
Josiah Sears is the Indiana player who is up now.
Personal foul, number 38 on Michigan, number 20 on Indiana. Those fouls offset. First down.
So some late frustration on both sides is waved off. But Michigan again in great field position. They had the ball at the 41 when we return to Ann Arbor.
ESPN2's College Football, brought to you by Dr. Pepper and your local Dr. Pepper bottler. Dr. Pepper, one taste and you get it. And Taco Bell, think outside the bun.
110,580 people inside Michigan Stadium, a 192nd straight game. They've had at least 100 grand here as Bass gets the carry. Antonio Bass, the high school quarterback, showing his speed, and a flag is down.
Antonio Bass with the ball. He was driven out.
Clipping. Number 65 on the offense. 15-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Repeat first down.
Leo Hennigy, the left guard, flag for that. Let's take a look at our Big Ten Player of the Year candidates, according to us. Brett Bazinet, the quarterback at Northwestern, Brian Calhoun, the running back at Wisconsin, Lawrence Maroney at Minnesota, or Michael Robinson at Penn State.
Well, if you asked me what player meant the most to his team this year, I would say hands down it would be Brett Bazinet at Northwestern. And with the loss or pending loss today against Ohio State, I'm not sure that Northwestern's going to finish strong enough in the Big Ten, Pam, for him to secure that award. I think Michael Robinson probably has the edge at this point.
Going back to Bass as he loses the football. Bass was just plowed into by Kyle Killian. But I think Matt Lentz was able to jump on it. Michigan at least will hold on to the football as we get you back to Matt Weiner.
Pam, Bowden Bowl 7 playing out on ESPN in Clemson. Good one. Charlie Whitehurst to Chancey Stuckey. Short pass, longer run. 32 yards for the touchdown. His second of the day, fourth in 2 games. And the Tigers lead it by 13.
How about the Tigers up by 13? Still plenty of time left to go in that one. Here, Michigan with the lost fumble that was recovered. 2nd and 28. Little play action. Gutierrez is going to throw the ball away as he was under big-time pressure from Victor Adianju. Let's go back to Michael Robinson, one of our Player of the Year candidates.
Yeah, coming into the year, I think he was the big question mark. At Penn State, were they going to get good play from their quarterback? And they have. Everybody knew that Michael Robinson could make plays with his feet, and he has. But he's also been very effective throwing the football. And he's had 3 freshman wide receivers. And Derek Williams went down with a broken arm. And he'll be missed down the stretch, Pam. But Michael Robinson exceeded expectations.
His first year as the full-time starting quarterback has been spectacular. As that pass to Max Martin is well short of the first down, but the clock keeps running. And, of course, Joe Paterno finally playing some true freshmen, which he has been really had an aversion to, and the true freshmen have made a big difference. And there are Michael Robinson's statistics and his claim for the Big Ten MVP. Brett Bazinet, by the way, leads the league in both total offense and passing yards, and they've won a lot of games there with one of the worst defenses in the country. And we had a chance to see him play quite often, and he just runs that offense to perfection.
Well, Robinson doesn't have the numbers, but I think if Robinson gets the Big Ten championship in Penn State's corner, that could secure Player of the Year's honors for the quarterback from Penn State.
Lance Bennett with the fair catch. Indiana has the football when we come back to a gorgeous day in Ann Arbor. Indiana getting the football back. The folks here in Michigan, plenty to be happy about. They're at 41-7. Coming up at 7:45 Eastern time tonight, how about a great SEC matchup? Tommy Tuberville and Auburn taking on the Georgia Bulldogs. They expect quarterback DJ Shockley back. Auburn, Georgia, also available in high definition on ESPN HD. Call your cable operator or satellite provider today. College football primetime presented by the good folks at Polaroid. Marcus Thigpen catching the Blake Powers pass, picking up a couple of yards on that.
Pam, I was interested to hear who your pick was for the Big Ten Player of the Year after I weighed in so heavily.
All right, we're going to get to that in a second. But first, let's see what Chad Henne did here in the first half. He's not played in the second half. We'll show more of that later on. Henne has not played. His first half numbers, pretty darn good. 17 of 24, 174 yards, and 3 touchdown passes. And Gutierrez taking over for him. And Blake Powers back in for Indiana as that pass is complete for a first down to Jakeem Gilmore. Good job by Gilmore, his 3rd catch of the day.
Well, let me load up the Bazinet package for
Let's
you here,
reload.
Pam, and I want to hear who your pick is for Big Ten Player of the Year.
I'm going with number 14, Brett Bazinet. As you mentioned earlier, Randy Walker, terrific coach, doing probably the most with less, but I've never seen a quarterback since I've been doing football the last few years in the Big Ten run an offense with as much precision. He's just a great leader on that team, and they're doing it. They're winning with a terrible defense. So I don't have a vote, so don't get upset. I'm not voting. But if I had a vote, I'd go with Bazinet as Powers holds on. Who would you go for?
Well, I like Bazinet. I like Bazinet as well. I think, as I said, no player has done more for his team in the Big Ten than Bazinet has. And look at the numbers. I mean, you look at the 64%, that really stands out. Yards, TDs, 16. 320 rushing yards. I think he's done a great job of making decisions to run the football this year, and he has kept his team in football games, and he has won some games with spectacular finishes. They're not going to get the job done today against the Buckeyes, but it's been a heck of a season.
As Powers goes down, he is sacked by Tim Jamison. Let's go back to Matt Weiner for a Big Ten update. Matthew.
And on the subject of Northwestern not getting the job done against Ohio State, in particular the defense, getting thrashed by the Buckeyes. Antonio Pittman, 5-yard touchdown run, his 5th of the season, all in the last 3 games. He's picked it up. Ohio State up by 31. Blowouts all around in the Big Ten at the moment. Minnesota leads Michigan State 28-3. Gary Russell has 17 touchdowns this year. And Purdue on top of Illinois, easy in West Lafayette.
Gary Russell, another player. Lawrence Maroney, the best rusher yard-wise in the Big Ten, is another sack. Powers goes down, but Gary Russell is terrific waiting in the wings as Sean Crable comes in, and that's a couple of sacks in a row as Crable gets his 2nd of the season.
And Jim Herman, the former Frank Broyles Award winner back in 1997, the national championship year, Jim Herman voted the best assistant coach in college football, and with good reason. Year in and year out, he has the fire and the technical expertise. He always has this Michigan defense firing on all cylinders, especially when you get close to Ohio State.
Tyson Beatty's 8th punt. Doug Dutch now is back, a sophomore from Bowie, Maryland. And Dutch picks it up. And his inexperience perhaps as a punt returner, picks it up there and goes down right away around the 3-yard line.
Yeah, Dutch is going to have more than one coach awaiting him on the sidelines to talk strategy, and I don't think you're going to see Mr. Dutch handle many more punts in his career at Michigan inside the 5-yard line.
That was a 63-yard punt for Beatty, a season long for him, as Lloyd Carr, the big man, goes over there to talk to Dutch.
Yeah, interesting. The head coach, when he comes and visits you, and you look at Dutch there, he's trying to hide behind a couple trainers and support people on the sidelines. Lloyd Carr is always going to find you. Don't worry.
Doug Dutch, that was his first punt return of the season. He's in there. Remember, they used Steve Breston to great success in the first half. Manningham was back there the last punt, and that time it was Dutch's turn, and it's 1st and 10 from the 3. Max Martin now in as we go back for another update with Matt Weiner.
Hi, Pam. Thank you very much. Spurrier Bowl today, Florida and South Carolina. The old ball coach's old team getting back into it. Chris Leak with the touchdown pass there, so it's 20-19. Lots of time left midway through the 3rd quarter. And don't forget, tonight on ESPN, 7:45 Eastern Time, Auburn and Georgia between the hedges, a series that has gone to the road team more often than not. 7:45 ESPN.
Another terrific ball game coming up tonight on ESPN, SEC football. Jerome Jackson now in, and we've seen every running back except Mike Hart, who will not be playing today as he continues to rest that ankle.
Boy, and there have been some great Auburn-Georgia matchups in the last 4 or 5 years. One that comes to mind, David Green hitting the 4th and 15 ball, touchdown to Michael Johnson. Last offensive play for Georgia to beat Auburn at Auburn, and then the year or two before, Georgia had a couple opportunities inside the 5, decided to run the football, and the clock ran out on Georgia and Mark Richt. And that game always seems to have a lot of excitement inside 5 minutes to go in the 4th quarter.
And more excitement as we expect to see Shockley playing tonight for Georgia. Catch that out on ESPN. 3rd down, Gutierrez, and he has Dutch! And Dutch maybe out of the little doghouse he got in with the bad punt return mistake. Gets his first catch, 16 yards and a 1st down.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that Dutch is out of the oven now after having that talk with Lloyd Carr. And Lloyd Carr impressed to see Dutch come back and make a nice play. This is a nice ball from Gutierrez as well. And double receiver route to the left side. Gutierrez lets the outside receiver clear and drops the ball off on the out route.
All right, Doug Dutch with a career-long catch for the 1st down. Keeps the drive going. They're up at the 20. Gutierrez rolls out right into trouble, and Dutch again drops it. Oh, Doug Dutch had it right in his hands, and he can't bring it in. Up and down day already for the young man, just in this series.
But Gutierrez, the quarterback, makes a heck of a play here. He's going to get pulled up on a bootleg here. Kendall, the defensive end, is going to show in his face, and look at Gutierrez. He comes to a stop, great footwork, beautiful throw. And that was a second choice. He comes back to his tight end, and Dutch just flat out dropped it. Dutch is back in the oven.
Boy, that was a beautiful play by Gutierrez. Dutch got it in full stride and couldn't hang on. 2nd and 10 now for the Wolverines. Antonio Bass now in motion. And they find it. Bass hangs on to it, and he's going to be marked just a little bit short of the first down. Bass, another one of these true freshmen. He's from Jackson, Michigan. Great high school baseball player, was a quarterback, and coaches say he might be the fastest guy they've ever had at Michigan, and that is saying something.
Well, it is saying something, and you look at the wide receivers down the line for Michigan, Manningham, Bass. Doug Dutch is going to figure into the mix here in the upcoming years, and then you figure in Henne and Mike Hart. More than enough talent at the skill positions in the years to come for Michigan.
As Gutierrez gets the first down on the sneak. Not finished yet with our Big Ten Player of the Year discussion, even though we both say we like Bazinet. Brian Calhoun has been wonderful. The transfer from Colorado, kid has scored a ton of touchdowns. But his rushing yard average is about a yard less per carry than Maroney at Minnesota, but he's been great.
Well, the X factor has been his ability and his productivity as a pass catcher. And Gary Barnett was going to convert this guy to wide receiver.
Brian said thank you, but no thank you. I'm going back home to Wisconsin as Martin gets the carry and a flag comes down. 22 touchdowns for Mr. Calhoun this year.
How about the touchdown production? That's scary. And yeah, Barry Alvarez teams, they like to keep the ball on the ground, and they like to run the ball in the red zone.
Face mask, number 43 on the defense. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
That's Kyle Killian, the middle linebacker, 15-yard face mask. And look at Calhoun. You mentioned what a great receiver he is, David, and he has just been a terrific football player for them.
Yeah, you look at those receiving yards, and those really jump out at you. And Stocco, I think, has developed at quarterback throughout the course of the year. He was a real question mark coming in terms of could he be a championship quarterback for Barry Alvarez in the Big Ten Conference. I think he's answered those questions, and he's been very smart. He's dumped the ball off to Calhoun when he's been in trouble and needed yards, and Calhoun has converted.
Get the ball to number 2. It's worked for them all season. That was the 8th penalty against Indiana. Michigan just with 1 as Max Martin gets a little bit, about a yard. Let's go back to Matt Weiner.
All right, Pam, let's check in once again on Florida and South Carolina. Blake Mitchell to the freshman Sidney Rice, who's been so good in this win streak. 4th 100-yard receiving day in his last 5. This one down to the one where Mike Davis punched it in for the Gamecocks. South Carolina up on Florida 27-19.
Boy, that wasn't the prettiest pass in the world. How come my wide receivers couldn't help me out like that? Whenever I throw a ball like that, that ball's picked and headed the other way for 6.
That was a great catch. It was one of your wide receivers, Carl Durrell. Done a great job at UCLA. Last week they got thumped, but UCLA, one of the great stories in college football. As Max Martin gets the last carry of the third quarter, it was a scoreless third quarter. Michigan still up 41-7 as the countdown to Ohio State is on in Ann Arbor. College football presented by Nokia. We join you on a beautiful day in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Michigan up on Indiana 41-7, scoring 41 straight points in this game, but nobody scored at all in the third quarter as we get ready for quarter number 4. As we do, 3rd and 6 for the Wolverines. Gutierrez has played the entire second half as Chad Henne had a great first half and now sat down, and Gutierrez is going to run for the first down. And wisely runs out of bounds around the 41-yard line, pursued by Joe Kramer.
Well, Gutierrez has come in this football game, and obviously 41-7 score isn't much of an issue, but he's made some nice decisions, and he's made a couple impressive throws. You're going to play for Michigan, and you're going to play for Lloyd Carr. You're going to have to play with discipline at the quarterback position, and Gutierrez has made all the right moves here in the second half.
It's some quality playing time here against Indiana. This is a 61-yard drive, the 11th play coming up. Little play action, and Gutierrez gets that one knocked down. Victor Adeyanju, number 94 for Indiana. Terrific story and a very good football player. As Adeyanju, he's another one who the NFL really looking at.
Oh, the scouts really like him because he's a great pass rusher, but he's got versatility. As he gets up to the pro level, you can put some weight on. He'll be able to play both in the 3-4 scheme. If he puts on that weight, and in a 4-3 scheme, he play outside as a defensive end. The NFL scouts really like this kid. And, you know, we sat down and visited with him, Pam. He is a heck of an individual. Very fun character, great personality. He's going to have a long NFL career.
Very impressive. He will be graduating soon as Max Martin goes down. For more on Adeyanju, let's go down to Jimmy Dykes.
Well, Victor Adeyanju actually arrived from Nigeria with his family to the United States at the age of 8, and he watched his father work 16-hour days, 7 days a week as a taxi driver in order to give his 6 children the opportunities that exist in America. And Adeyanju could only afford one-room efficiency unit for his family, and they often went without Christmas presents and birthday presents, but he says his dad always made sure that the family was together on those special days. And he's a guy that's getting a lot of attention from the NFL scouts, Dave, and Victor says it's his #1 goal to provide for his father, so he has to not drive that taxi anymore.
Well, he keeps playing the way he's been playing, and there are going to be plenty of presents to go around.
Leslie Majors coming in from his corner position and sacking Gutierrez, as we get an update now from Matt Weiner.
North Carolina, one of the many teams around the country trying to get themselves bowl eligible. They need 2 wins in the final 3 games, starting today with Maryland and trailing the Terps. Matt Baker to Mike Mason, trailing no more. Heels on top by 3 in the 4th quarter.
Carolina leading Maryland by 3 as they take on each other in Chapel Hill. That was the first career sack for Leslie Majors, the sophomore from Harvey, Illinois, and that means that we get another punt from Ross Ryan. Good hang time. Lance Bennett looking into the sun and then making the fair catch around the 15-yard line. So Indiana down 41-7 to Michigan. And the Hoosiers have the ball when we come back. Michigan rolling along with a 41-7 lead over Indiana, but neither team has scored here in the second half. Indiana finishing its season next week in their rivalry game against Purdue. Purdue winning big today, and Michigan has Ohio State coming in next week as Chris Taylor gets the carry. And this Big Ten season has been wacky. Penn State controlling its own destiny. They off today. Will play Michigan State next week, and really this is going to go down to the final week of the season to determine who gets the BCS bid.
Oh, it will. And Michigan, for Michigan to get the BCS bid, they're going to need a loss by Wisconsin against Iowa. They're going to need Michigan State to upset Penn State next week. And you know, Michigan State is always a wild card at home. They're capable of putting points on the board, and most importantly, Michigan's going to have to beat Ohio State team, a Buckeye team that is playing very well at this point in the season.
And that's a direct snap to Marcus Thigpen. We saw that quite a bit last week against Minnesota. Big play potential guy, picks up a couple of yards as we go back to Matt Weiner.
After their slow start, Oklahoma's about to become bowl eligible if they can hang on against Texas A&M. 2 more points here. Sooners get to Reggie. Nearly loses it. They're fortunate that the Aggies can hop on it and only take a safety. So Oklahoma leads it by 13.
I'll tell you what, Pam, there's so many bowl games these days. It's like the phone book. You have to ask not to be in.
Yeah, almost half of the teams getting in with all of the bowls. And Oklahoma trying to get into one as Chris Taylor catches the pass from Powers, and he was tackled down short of the first down by Charles Stewart. So Boyd Carr emptying his bench and getting a lot of his reserves some good quality playing time in this game. Boyd Carr, we had a nice visit with him yesterday. He's been here a long time. Was an assistant under both Bo Schembechler and Gary Moeller, now in his 11th season as the head coach of that national championship in '97. And really getting this team back on track in the last few weeks of the season. Another punt from Beatty, punt number 9. And Doug Dutch is back to get the punt. fields it cleanly. And Dutch goes down around the 47-yard line. Beatty, a busy man. 9 punts. That one was 38 yards, a 7-yard return for Dutch. We'll get you back. College football presented by Nokia. A little musical accompaniment on the drums as Michigan's up 41-7. Still plenty of time left to go here in the fourth quarter. Matt Gutierrez playing quarterback the entire second half. And he's going up top. At least he wanted to, but the ball slips out of his hands. And Victor Adeyanju in on the play, helping to knock it away. And Adeyanju going off holding his arm. But Indiana has a football.
Yeah, it looks like Victor got hurt on that play, holding his arm or his wrist. But, you know, when you put second stringers in the game, and what a play, using the left hand, took the ball right out of Gutierrez's throwing motion. And see if Adeyanju's okay. You didn't have to go visit with a trainer, but he is a nightmare, especially when you put second stringers in along your offensive front.
And that was a great play to force that fumble, getting in on Gutierrez on his hand. Greg Brown pouncing on the fumble. But another great play from Adeyanju, and concern on the sideline for his health. He is a senior. Graham McFarland back in, fumbles the snap, and then picks it up. McFarland in for his third series of the day. John Thompson coming up to make the stop for the Wolverines. Thompson, one of the players on this Michigan defense that the coaches are excited about. That's the difference. One of the differences between a team like Indiana and Michigan. Michigan has the depth. Indiana loses some guys to injury for Michigan today. We've not seen Lamar Woodley, who continues to nurse a bruised forearm, but then you could bring Pierre Woods in. They're just a lot more pieces that they can fill in. 2nd and 5 for the Hoosiers. Gilmore, the intended receiver, but McFarland missed him. As we go back for more information from that one.
Ham, a key moment in the Clemson-Florida State game. Tigers driving Charlie Whitehurst to Aaron Kelly. Great catch, but ruled out of bounds. Clemson thought otherwise, wisely called timeout to give the officials another look. This is the look they got. Watch closely. The right elbow inbounds and correctly overruled. Touchdown, Tigers. They lead it by 3 touchdowns.
Huge play. I love the replay system in college football. And that's
catch.
A great, lovable catch by Rhett Kleinschmidt, who went up and brought it down. Kleinschmidt only had 2 catches on the season coming into today. And he's done a good job, again, getting more looks with Bailey and Hardy out.
I was talking about the catch in the Clemson game, but this,
oh, okay.
This was a pretty good.
Sorry.
No, you didn't know, Pam.
That was a good catch
but
by
I'll tell you what, it was very timely. That's what I was going to say. Kleinschmidt made a heck of a catch himself. And Indiana going to continue, try to pick up yards and put some points on the board. And this is some good work for McFarland. McFarland, the junior, going to be back next year.
Kleinschmidt with his 2nd catch of the day in spectacular fashion. Brandon Walker-Roby, the younger brother of Courtney Roby, the all-time leading receiver in Indiana history, makes that catch. That was a great catch in that Clemson game. And once again, the replay system working. And that's a huge, that's a great pad of that lead now for Clemson.
Well, and you can't help but think Joe Paterno facing the heat that he's faced the last 3, 4, 5 years. And Bobby Bowden at Florida State. Coach Bowden set the bar awfully high throughout the 90s and into the millennium, but Florida State has been disappointing. And you can hear the groans from Tallahassee from here. 2nd
down, and the ball is caught for a touchdown. Brandon Walker-Roby, his 2nd touchdown grab of the season and the first score for Indiana since their first possession of this game. Been a long time between touchdowns. McFarland throwing his 2nd score of the season. And Indiana, that was the first time they had been in Michigan territory at all since the first drive of the game. Because of the Adeyanju play, they got the ball in Michigan territory, and McFarland caps it off with a touchdown throw. Joe Klein-Smith in for the extra point. True freshman.
Couple nice back-to-back throws from McFarland. Walker Roby with the catch. And the reaction in the end zone. I'm not sure you want to be doing this with a 41-14 lead.
We have reached a palindromic score of 41-14 in favor of Michigan. Indiana scoring. They had to go 40 yards. Brandon Walker Roby catching a 7-yard touchdown pass from Graham McFarland.
What was that? Did you bust a new vocab word on us, Pam?
Palindromic. Same forward as backwards.
Wow.
You knew that, don't you?
I gotta get into my dictionary.
We're digging deep today. 41-14 Michigan. And another kick that goes out of bounds. Michigan has the option of taking it at the 35, which we assume they will do, rather than have Kleinsmith kick it off again. Steve Preston.
Illegal kick out of bounds by the kicking team. By rule, the ball is placed at the 35-yard line. First down.
Preston really hurting Indiana in the kicking game in the first half. We haven't seen him at all in the second half. Michigan with a huge lead.
ESPN2's college football is presented by Nokia. It's more than just a phone. It's your life in there. Nokia. And in part by Saturn.
Gutierrez leading the charge for Michigan. And we continue, flag is down here as there's some yapping going on the field. Antonio Bass talking to Damian Jones up close and personal. Michigan only 1 penalty so far today, 8 for Indiana, including 3 big holding penalties earlier.
We have offsetting, dead ball, personal foul. Number 6 in the white, number 18 in the blue. Those fouls offset, second down.
And that's the second time we've had offsetting personal foul penalties. Dave Capron, our official today, our referee today. How about Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year? Tamba Hali from Penn State, A.J. Hawk and Paul Posluszny, very good linebackers from Ohio State and Penn State, respectively. We'll talk a little bit more about that after the play. Elijah Bradley now in at the running back position, the 4th running back we have seen for the Wolverines today. So everybody getting in on the act.
Yeah, you split the vote a bit with Posluszny and Holly, and of course A.J. Hawk plays alongside a pretty impressive linebacker in Carpenter at Ohio State. And Carpenter steps down and plays some defensive end, but boy, can those defensive players run in that Ohio State defensive line.
3rd and 2, and that is a first down carry for Elijah Bradley, the senior from California. Let's go back to Matt Weinberg.
Bradley carry.
All right, the scoring continues in Columbus. Ohio State taking it to Northwestern. Eric Haw, the latest to reach the end zone, 48-7, which is not a palindrome. It is, however, a lopsided score. That seems to be a theme around the Big Ten today. Minnesota up by 24 on Michigan State, and Purdue easily over Illinois 37-3.
Matt was paying attention. A lot of routes going on in the Big Ten today. And boy, Bradley, so this is right now you're the 5th string running back. You get your opportunity and you're running.
And he almost ran with it all the way to the house at the big house. And,
first down for Michigan.
The more times change, the more they stay the same at Michigan. They go about 6-7 deep if they want to, a tailback. This Wolverine squad, and Bradley just a step from breaking that one all the way.
16 yards for Bradley coming into this game. He only had 9 carries for 27 yards all season. And if you're just joining us, Mike Hart has not played at all today as he continues to rest for the 2nd full game with a hurt ankle. Another carry for Bradley. And when we talked to Lloyd Carr yesterday, he was mentioning that their bye week, which was last week, came at the best possible time because he's had guys like Hart who've been injured and Lamar Woodley who've been hurt. Everybody gets to rest, and with a blowout win like this today, there's extra rest because who's coming up next week? The Ohio State University.
Michigan running the ball effectively, as we see there, but Lloyd Carr, this might end up being a season that might have been 3 losses by an average of about 4 points. Think about how close this team came to maybe looking towards a matchup with USC or Texas. And Lloyd Carr, you look at his record, and you could put his record up against any coach in the country. In the last 9 years at Michigan, he had 4 major bowl games, 3 Rose Bowls and an Orange Bowl, with a national title in '97. The other 5 years, Pam, all New Year's Day performances.
9 in a row to the New Year's Day Bowls.
I'm not sure the Wolverines fans day in and day out understand just what type of record that is. And you talk about excellence. I mean, Michigan every year considered in that top 5, top 10 talk preseason, and usually Lloyd Carr delivers on it.
3rd down, the pass is completed to Mike Massey, the brother of Pat Massey, who plays defensive line, but that is not enough for the 1st down. Michigan, you talked about the close calls. 6 of their 9 games decided by 5 points or less. They had 5 straight games decided by 3 points or less, going down the last play of the game, and that is unbelievable.
Yeah, and the Penn State game, to be fair to it, Michigan could have easily lost that game. Henny put together a superb drive to win that, and final play of the game won it with a pass to Manningham. But this team really dominated Wisconsin and came up on the short end of the stick. And they lost to Notre Dame.
Going forward on 4th down. What the heck? Chuck it into the end zone. And that is thrown out of the end zone, intended for Carl Tabb, a senior from right here in Ann Arbor. So the ball goes over on downs to Indiana. And we talked about Michigan's close finishes. Now you have an opportunity to look and listen.
Quarterback draw. Stockton! Touchdown! For the game. He's got it. Michigan wins for the win.
The kick on the way, and it's good. Henny fires to the end zone. Touchdown, Manningham! Michigan wins!
To Jackson, probing to the goal line. He's in! And Michigan wins in overtime!
Their last couple of games not close at all. They beat Northwestern last week 33-17, shutting out the Wildcats in the second half. And here it's 41-14 over Indiana, and getting ready for Ohio State next week.
And going into that Ohio State game, 4-game winning streak, and coming into this game, Pam, we mentioned wins against Penn State and then at Iowa and Northwestern. Game coming up against Ohio State should be a classic, and they usually are.
Yep. Saw the close calls there as you took a look at Michigan's schedule as they get ready for yet another bowl game. Yamar Washington, the senior, still running hard, picking up about 8 on 1st down. And you go back to that Penn State game, and Penn State fans no doubt cringing because that's the last play of the game. He hits Manningham. If not, Penn State is looking as like the odd man out right now for a national championship. That's the 3rd unbeaten.
Tough loss to Minnesota. Gary Russell breaks off that long run. An interesting stat on Lloyd Carr. The first 9 times that Lloyd Carr, his teams matched up against top 10 teams, Pam, his record 9-0. He's made a living beating the biggies.
As Washington loses his footing and loses about 4 yards, we'll get you back to Matt Weiner.
All right, Pam, another check on North Carolina and Maryland. Terps trying to get something going. Down 3 in the 4th quarter. Sam Hollenbach never saw Kareem Taylor. Taylor saw his way to the end zone. That's a pick 6, 25 yards. It's now a 3-point Carolina lead.
Sam Hollenbach, what were you thinking? Terrible mistake for him on that play. Maryland offense still really trying to get on track this season. Ralph Friedgen using a lot of different quarterbacks the last couple of years, trying to find the right guy. Tyson Beatty now has tied his career high with his 10th punt of the game, as that one goes out of bounds at the 30. Let's revisit the end of the Penn State game. Nittany Lion fans, you might not want to watch.
Chad Henne, last chance. You talk about a perfectly thrown ball, and the confidence to go to a freshman on that play, Pam. Manningham on the post route in the end zone, and Joe Paterno not in a very good mood after that game.
No.
And if not for that final play of that football contest, Joe Paterno would be undefeated in Big Ten play this year. What a turnaround.
Chad Henne has not played at all here in the second half. It's been all Matt Gutierrez. senior from Concord, California. And more hard running from Elijah Bradley as he gets it about 9 yards further down the field. Chad Henne has had the headphones on for the entire second half, was terrific in the first half. Just a sophomore, and he is from Pennsylvania and went to the same high school as Kerry Collins, Wilson High, and Wyomissing, Pennsylvania. There was some pressure growing up in that part of the country to go to Penn State, but he said when he came to, he said, heck, Michigan is quarterback U. I wanted to come here, made his visit, and it was a done deal. And he has been thriving as a true sophomore. Bradley picks up the first down.
That was interesting. You know, we're sitting in a room, a bunch of All-Americans up on the wall, former All-Americans in Michigan, and our producer, Eric Posman, you know, he's talking to Chad Henne. He said, Chad, you know, I look up on that wall and I see a lot of former Michigan players with their arm cocked and a football in their hand. And did that play into your decision? And Chad Henne said, absolutely. He even called Michigan quarterback U. He said, you know, Miami has a claim to that title, but I felt the same way about Michigan when I signed.
He had about 100 friends and family here for that Penn State game, and we said, what was it like? You throw, not only do you beat Penn State, but you beat them on the last play of the game with a second left, and he just said it's unexplainable. It was a thrill of a lifetime, and obviously something he'll never forget. He'll have other big moments, but that was it. That was perfection for him, and a huge, huge win, because you look back, you know, if they lose that game, you know, that was right after they had lost to Minnesota, and they would have been under 500, and the season just might have been from there on in just a disaster. So it was huge in many respects.
Well, and you had the feeling even early in the season at 3-3 that Michigan, they always get stronger as the year goes on. You know, we talked about this visiting with Lloyd Carr yesterday. Michigan teams get better on a week-to-week basis. And you know, Chad Henne, for him to get better for Lloyd Carr and to realize his aspirations and become a great quarterback at the college level, he's got all the tools. And what a season as a true freshman last year. He got off to a slow start this year, the injuries, and maybe not throwing the ball quite as well as he's capable. But as he learns to take a little bit off the throw and move in the pocket and some of the intangibles at the quarterback position, I think his potential is unlimited, Pam.
Especially considering he is such a young guy.
False start. Number 73 on the offense. 5-yard penalty, still third down.
Alex Mitchell called for that. We have another quarterback who has since come in. Matt Wild is in. We also saw Jeff Castle, so all the quarterbacks taking snaps today. There is Matt Wild, a senior from Troy, Michigan. 6'2", 200, so everybody getting in today. Maybe you're next.
And I know from experience, when you're third, fourth stringer and you get into the game, you know, people are pretty relaxed in the stands and on the sidelines, but your heart is beating fast, and you know, it's your moment.
Hands it off to Bradley. And Steve Breston had a fabulous first half for Michigan. 203 all-purpose yards. He had a kick return and 3 punt returns for big yardage. He had a 30-yard run, a touchdown catch. Not a bad 2 quarters of work.
And you look at it, 8 touches. 8 total touches for 203 total all-purpose yards. He's a game breaker.
And Breston, a guy who early in the season, one of the several Wolverines who was banged up with a variety of injuries, and just show you, get the guy the ball when he's healthy, and as you said, a game breaker. Geno Johnson, the true freshman, down on the field for Indiana. We have 1:03 left to go in this game. The Hoosiers, by losing this game, will officially not be eligible for a bowl. They would have had to win today and next week against Purdue, and play 12 has been the motto for Terry Hepner. Hepner doing a job and trying to lift this program up. From Woodburn, Indiana, it says it's his dream job, and he's been wearing a wristband all year. Play 12, meaning if we play 12, we get into a bowl game, and they will fall short. And he certainly knew what was ahead of him when he took the job, but did great things at Miami, picking up for Randy Walker in Ohio, and good things have to be on the way for Indiana football with him in charge.
Well, they better be on the way, and I think really the telltale sign will be as Geno Johnson gets help off the field. Geno Johnson is a guy who's going to figure into Terry Hepner's future, and a little bit undersized right now as a linebacker, but very athletic and just lacking a little experience. But Terry Hepner, I think the telltale sign for him is going to be recruiting. And that's the big challenge for any coach that takes that Indiana job. Can you lure kids into Bloomington when you're going up against the Michigans, Ohio States, and Penn States of the world?
And that pass from Castle is incomplete. Terry Hepner using Barry Alvarez, as we all wish him the best, as this is his last home game at Wisconsin. Terrific job. He's using Barry Alvarez's model of what he did at Wisconsin and wants to use that as a model to build his program, because people might not remember Wisconsin football was not good at all. It was disastrous before Alvarez took over.
You go back to the 80s and the Wisconsin football program for the most part was not competitive, and Barry Alvarez took his team to 3 Rose Bowls and won all of them.
McFarland's pass for Walker Roby is off the mark, and the clock stops now with 45 seconds left to go.
You know, Pam, it's been an interesting season in the Big Ten, and if you go back and you look at all the talk and the prognostications before the year started, people were talking Ohio State, Iowa, Purdue, people talking about Purdue as a top 15 team. Of course, Michigan. Not a lot of people were talking Penn State or Northwestern or Wisconsin. And turned out to be a very unpredictable year, but one of the most interesting and exciting years in the Pac-10, or in the Big Ten, excuse me, in recent memory.
And remember, Iowa, as you mentioned, this is a team that has to win one more game to be bowl eligible. As we take a look now, these are updated standings. We have Ohio State beating Northwestern today, and we projected Michigan will beat Indiana. So they go to 7-3 overall, 5-2, and still in the hunt for that BCS bowl bid, and a fabulous, fabulous Big Ten season.
I think it's safe to project Michigan winning this game inside 5 seconds.
3 seconds left to go.
It's, Iowa was a very fashionable pick before the season to not only win the Big Ten championship, some people were talking national championship. And that's just how competitive this league has become. Can you imagine the Big Ten with a Big Ten championship game if they went to 12 teams?
Oh, my goodness.
I know Lloyd Carr doesn't want to see that, and there's a number of head coaches across the Big Ten that aren't real excited about the prospect of playing another game in December.
Last play of the game, barring a penalty, and it is an incomplete pass. So Indiana scoring the first touchdown of this game, went up 7-0. Then Michigan ripped off 41 straight points. Michigan does not score in the second half, but they win big 41-14. Ohio State coming up next for them. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Coming up next, College Game Day Scoreboard presented by Acura for David Norrie and Jimmy Dykes, everybody here in Ann Arbor. I'm Pam Ward. Time now for Matt Weiner in our ESPN studio.
Coming up on Michigan Replay, the Wolverines win their 4th in a row as they beat Indiana. We'll have the highlights. We'll also meet Pierre Woods, whose Saturday includes a game and Michigan Replay. We'll explain. And we'll look ahead to the battle of all battles. We'll scout the Buckeyes of Ohio State. All that and more coming up next. Michigan Replay with Lloyd Carr is brought to you in part by Pepsi. It's the Cola. By Chevrolet. Chevy drives the Motor City. See your Detroit area Chevy dealers today or log on to DetroitAreaChevyDealers.com. By LaSalle Bank. Proud to support the University of Michigan football program. LaSalle Bank, making more possible. And by Big Boy Restaurants. Big Boy makes you say, oh boy. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Michigan Replay. The Wolverines on Saturday defeat Indiana 41-14. Big win, a game that you kind of knew you had them outmanned, but those are important games, and you got it done in the first half.
Well, Jim, the truth is it was a challenge for us from the standpoint of coming after a bye week and, of course, before the Ohio State game. But I thought our guys did a great job of focusing in. We didn't have the best week of practice, but I think we did have a performance that allowed us to come out of this game an improved team.
The one thing that happened in the game, though, which you didn't want to have happen, especially since Indiana was the underdog, was they struck first with a big play.
Well, it's absolutely the worst way to start a football game, particularly at home and after a bye week, and understanding that you want to come out and play your best game of the year.
And from their perspective, this is exactly the way they needed to start.
Well, there's no question. They put together a good drive, and then Powers underthrows the ball. Leon Hall was in good shape position-wise, but he just got out, fought for the ball, and now they made a play.
Well, what we see now is really a theme. You accept a penalty, take a 5-yard penalty, and get a re-kick, and Steve Breston just does the rest.
Well, Jim, the wind, they were kicking into the wind, and so when they kicked it out of bounds, we decided to make them re-kick from the 30, and it paid off. A well-executed return, great field position down inside the 30-yard line.
In the 3rd and 1 play, you hit Jason Avant to keep the drive alive. And then one of the more interesting plays of the game, a tip ball that you wind up making a catch in.
Well, they didn't rush the defensive end, as you can see there, and he jumped up and deflected the ball, and somehow I asked Kevin if he was the 2nd or 3rd option on that play, but he did get it down inside the 5.
Then the touchdown, a tough pass over the safety to Tyler Ecker.
And a great catch. I mean, that catch took great concentration, and Tyler Ecker made a play there that gets us on the board.
7-7 at this point. The defense then stiffens. You get the ball back, and then it's about getting the ball to your playmakers.
Well, I think Steve Breston had maybe one of the better days of his career, making a difficult catch there. The ball thrown a little bit behind him. He makes it look easy.
And here, you're getting the ball to Antonio Bass in different ways.
Well, we're trying to get the ball in Antonio's hands because he's a guy that has great acceleration and great speed, and he can make something happen with the ball.
And then just a hitch route to Jason Avant, one-on-one with the corner, and he beats him to the end zone for the 14-7 lead. You don't want to talk about that one?
Well, yeah, Jason made a play when the corner a little bit soft. You can't afford to play off very far off Avant down that close to the end zone.
Yeah, and the other thing I thought is your defense really stepped up after that opening drive.
Well, a play that had gone for good yardage just before that, we defended it, forced him to punt, and watch this return.
Now, if he turns to the left right here, he goes the distance.
Well, I know this. Steve would love to have that one back because he had a sure touchdown.
A sure touchdown indeed, but it gets you great field position.
Well, I think that's the best thing that happened from an offensive standpoint. You couldn't ask for better field position than we had in this game. We were working towards the short end throughout the first half, and here Kevin is too high. He's got to get his pads down, something that we worked hard on, but he does get it in the end zone off the right side of the line, and now we have taken control of the game.
20-7 lead, and then the defensive line is doing a good job. Their running game was non-existent, and that really helped the whole story of this game.
Well, Gabe Watson made a good play there, and one of the things we had talked about from a goal standpoint was to hold them under 100 yards rushing, and we did that, and I think it had a lot to do with winning.
And here are those hidden yards again where you get great field position on a punt return from Breston.
Again, Steve Breston, and the credit goes to the kickoff return, the punt team. Those people have done a good job all year.
And then you get a great run from Kevin Grady. That makes it 27-7. He just won't go down.
Well, Jim, he made a run similar to that 2 weeks ago against Northwestern, and certainly he's a guy that's going to keep churning. He's strong, and he ran through the tackle.
And here you go again, going to the air, Chad Henne to Jason Avant. And then he comes back here with a handoff to Jerome Jackson on a reverse.
Well, I like this block that Henne delivers right there, a big block on the play, and we get good field position again down inside the 20-yard line.
And then another great run by Jerome Jackson in traffic here at the goal line.
Well, the thing he does here is he continues to fight. He's up and manages to stretch the ball over the end zone. You got to be careful there because that ball gets knocked loose when you extend it out. It's a fumble.
Well, at this point, you're getting it way out of hand at 34-7, but your defense continues to play extremely well.
Well, here is a very good tackle by Morgan Trent on a scrambling quarterback, seeing the ball. We're playing zone coverage. He saw the quarterback break out of there, and contained them and forced them to punt the ball.
And this is 1:39 left in the half, and you're kind of in a 2-minute mode, and boy, you do a great job of executing this drive.
Well, we've had very good pass protection throughout the first half, and Chad makes an excellent throw again to Jason Avon, who had a big day, and then a great call by Terry Malone during the 2-minute, a running play that gains 19 yards.
We've done a little check down here to Manningham, who does a great job getting it down inside and stops the clock by getting out of bounds.
Well, Jim, earlier in the season, he kept the ball and stayed inbounds, and here today, he made a nice play, learning from his mistake and getting the clock stopped.
Then you hit Preston in the corner of the end zone, 41-7 at halftime, and that was just a dominant first half performance, and I think it had to make you feel good since they took a 7-0 lead. The beginning of that half to score 41 unanswered, you had to feel like you were clicking.
Well, I think that's one of the things that we talked about all week long, being able to have a performance that will enable us to feel confident that we were at the top of our game going into the Ohio State game.
Yeah, it got you some confidence heading into the second half. We'll be back and take a look at the highlights. The second half of Michigan's victory over Indiana, but first we hear from Prescott Burgess, who says the defense can never let up in any game.
We just had to play each game, come out and play each game like we've been doing. We let one get behind us the first quarter, and after that we promised each other that we weren't going to let it happen again, and we did our job.
Michigan Replay takes you inside the locker room.
And we always talk about it in our room. I mean, the position, if one guy goes down, the next guy got to be there to step up and play the exact same way, to that level. So every week we just stress that. So, we never know who might go down, so you got to be ready to go.
Clearly Kevin Grady was ready to go. The Wolverines have a 41-7 lead at halftime. Now, what do you tell the team at half with that kind of a lead?
Well, this is what I told them. I said, look, we've got control of this game. We got an opportunity here to play a lot of guys that deserve an opportunity to play, but we can't go out there and turn the ball over and give up big plays and then have to substitute back in there. And I don't want to do that. So don't ruin my day.
Well, they didn't ruin your day. Defensively, they came out of play. Here's Tim Jamison making a sack.
Well, the one thing we did, I thought, after the first drive throughout the game is we had good pressure up front. Guys kept him inside, and anytime your quarterback, this is the kind of duress you're getting, it's for a long day. And there, Sean Crable and Pierre Woods had a game on. Pierre came inside. The game was well executed, and Sean got the sack.
And here, Matt Gutierrez gets the second half start.
Well, Matt did some very good things in this game, and here's a big third down out of our own end zone, and making a throw for a first down to Doug Dutch, a guy that has got some playing time. Is going to help him right back and hit Antonio Bass. And Antonio did a great job there catching a football and getting up the field.
We are in the fourth quarter. Matt showing some pretty good feet.
Scrambles out there for another first down. And we got field position here and a good drive going.
Done a 3rd and 9 attempts and get a sack, and it kind of ends this drive.
Well, we get the corner blitz up at the top of the screen. We don't pick it up, and we of course now have to punt football.
But some of your kids that are playing defense can hit the screen, right? I'll still close it up.
It's got an opportunity to do a great job on our special teams. And made an excellent tackle there. Good hustle from Jeremy Van Hulst.
And here's the one turnover you didn't like to see. You got pressure, ball pops on Matt's hands at the end.
No, we had a big play set up there, and we just didn't give Matt enough time. And this Eddie Andrews is an outstanding player. Came in and knocked the ball.
And then their back quarterback, McFarland, hits Schmidt down here, and then later he gets a touchdown pass here over the middle.
Well, Jim, the previous play you saw, they get underneath coverage. That's a play a young player will learn from here. They hit touchdown to safety to get enough depth down in there. So these are all plays that young players benefit. And every player that got a chance to play in this game will learn finishing things.
At that point, it's 41-14. We show these plays just because you got the game won, but Elijah Bradley, running back, gets an opportunity. He does real well.
Well, Obi Olibo, who's done a good job at fullback, another guy that's done a great job on special teams, got an opportunity to play in there, and because we do have a lot of competition, it's hard to get guys as many snaps as you'd like to, but when you do get an opportunity, it's great to see a guy like Elijah make the most of his opportunity.
A 41-14 victory over Indiana. You told me after the game it was good because you needed some momentum coming out of the bye week going into Ohio State, and you got what you wanted out of this game, right?
Well, I think we did. I think we improved our passing game and lacked some timing.
And you talked over the bye week, that's what you're going to work on.
Yes, and I think protection was good. I thought Chad threw the ball well. I thought we caught the ball very well. With one exception in there, we dropped a pass. But I thought we did some positive things, and we still can improve, and that'll be one of the things that we'll be doing this week.
You got to improve because Ohio State comes to town. We'll be back a little later with a scouting report. First, when we come back, we'll meet Peter Woods. But first, from Steve Reston, who says his returns are all about being prepared.
This is another team. The doesn't get your appearance. And like I said, just go out there, do my job. And the blockers, you got to touch your block from on and hit the holes.
Woods is one of those fifth-year seniors coaches love to have on their teams. Native of Cleveland, Woods has been a contributor to redshirt freshman year as a linebacker. He's got a motor that doesn't stop, and he's an enthusiastic leader. Pierre says that's just the way he is. What you see is what you get.
That's where I am. That's what I play. I mean, I'm a fight to the very end, regardless if I'm in the game or not. I'm a sideline. I'm trying to amp guys up, trying to get them ready, for the next play. Next play, get a touchdown, get out from the opposing offense. So I'm always just energetic and enthusiastic and everything like that.
His enthusiasm has even brought him into the studios of Michigan Replay. Pierre worked behind the scenes as a floor director during the taping of the program. It's part of his education for film and video classes. So now, after games, Pierre is working at what he hopes will be a career. This Saturday night diversion has had its interesting moments.
It's what I expected too, but when you have them headphones on and the guys in the back of the production room, the things that they be saying in the headphones, you can't laugh because it's a live show. So if I laugh or I giggle, then the studio, the people on TV is going to hear and laughter and everything like that. So it's a great opportunity. I'm happy about it, and if I could, I wish I've done it for a long time.
Some of the shows haven't been easy to do either. The Wolverines have had their disappointments this season. Pierre has felt this much as anyone. But this is a young man who won't get the better of him. He's a fighter. He will battle back. He will lead.
It's like when you're little and you feel like you're getting jumped. You got to come out swinging because otherwise you're going to stay back there and they're going to beat you down. So that's that's what we're going to do. We got to come out swinging. We got to come out fighting. Regardless of anything, we got to be vigorous. Everybody wants to see the Michigan game that we lost. The teams didn't beat us. We got ourselves, and that's the way I look at it.
And there he is. Pierre was working after an Indiana victory. How about that?
He's made a great contribution to Michigan Replay.
He has. But
all the guys he works with.
The picture that we see of you is where Pierre is on the camera. Now, that one will be shaky right now. There it is. There's the camera. He's pretty good at that.
He can do better. He can make me a little better than that. Come on, Pierre.
Well, everybody, you can honor this Michigan Wolverine football team. Don't forget the Michigan Football Bust is coming up in a couple of weeks. It will be held at the Laurel Manor. And it's a wonderful event where you can honor the Michigan football team. They have come back from really adversity this year to get themselves in great position. Jay Morris is the ceremony. At the Laurel Manor for ticket information, you can call 1-800-847-4764. Monday, November 28th is the date. When we come back, we will out the Buckeyes of Ohio State. But first, we hear from Watson, who says those Buckeyes will be definitely.
we're going up against a great team with Ohio State, and they are explosive all around. And we have to just come up and focus and prepare big time and do it.
Michigan replay takes you inside the line.
Oh, it means a lot. I've never, as you know, I've played in this game, so it's a huge game for our team. And my roommate Mark Beal, being from Ohio, he's got all his Ohio State buddies, yelling at him and giving him a hard grief about it. But he'll next week, and it's going to be a great game. So.
Well, when you come to the University of Michigan to play football, it's playing big games. They don't get any bigger than Michigan, Ohio State, and here it is again with so much on the line. Well, it's always exciting, and certainly this year's different, Jim. This is going to be a great football game. The greatest rivalry in college football. It doesn't get any better. And Ohio State brings in, would you say, the best team you see this year? Well, I don't think there's any question. They're an outstanding football team, a great defensive football team, and maybe the most explosive football team offensively and in the kicking game that we've seen. There's no question they're a top 10 team, and they're maybe 2 plays away from being undefeated. And they've got skilled guys that can absolutely fly. You got Troy Smith, their quarterback, Antonio outstanding receiver. Here's Antonio Pittman, the running back, and then, of course, Ted Ginn Jr., who's one of those guys that, basically, as you said earlier, faster than a speeding bullet. Well, if you're not where you're supposed to be, if you don't take the proper angle, it's a touchdown. I mean, that's what Holmes can do, Ginn can do, and of course, Troy Smith has had a great year. He's really developed as a quarterback, having the ability to make something happen, a very, very strong arm, a great receivers, and a great running game. And defensively, they've got all the going there with some great players. Kudla, Hawk, Carpenter, they're linebackers. There's no question, Jim, and it doesn't even mention a defensive line that's experienced. They're all guys that are very physical, great pressure quarterback, and an outstanding secondary, veteran secondary. And from your perspective, as you play this game and this team, how do you go about preparing, and where is your matchup with them? Well, I think we've got to. That's what we've got to decide here in the next day or so, because the truth is, we look at a lot of film now. What we have to do is zero in on things that we think are important, and I think our team understands that turnovers are always critical. We got to prevent big plays defensively, and the special teams. No question, because that's exactly what we didn't do a year ago. We gave up a big pass in the early possession, then gave up a big play in the kicking game. You can't give up points. And how about your health coming into the game? Michael Hart did not play against Indiana. Do you think he would be ready to go against Ohio State? I could have played on Saturday. I just felt like 3 or 4 more days of rest would do him good, and I think back that was the right thing to do. And I think for the most part, there's nobody right now that I don't expect to play. And Ohio State, from the standpoint of the defense, they're like, neutralize them. Well, they're you got to get a hat on them. You got to get a hat on them. But the truth is, it's a team effort. The backs have to do his job. You're not going to block them all. And they're a very good team. So you've got to try to mix up so that you can break some of your tendencies, all those types of things. And it's all set up for you, because I was kind of the thing falling in line for Michigan. Well, Jim, the real focus we have is this game. I mean, really, all those other things are out of our control, and there's nothing bigger than this game anyway. That's true. And for the folks out there who want to come to Michigan-Ohio State game, you want to get involved in it, it's a blue up. Everybody wants to come in there and wear your blue to the stadium. It's a complete Michigan stadium called Blue Out. So wear your blue and get there and cheer for the Wolverines and make it just as loud at Michigan Stadium as they do at Ohio Stadium. Place to play. And make sure you're joining us next week right here, same time, same place, when we'll talk about a Michigan victory over Ohio State. Michigan Replay has been brought to you in part by Absolute, delivering quality since 1908 by Sirius Satellite Radio. State Farm, by Insurance and Financial Services, and by Chevrolet. Chevy Drive Motor City. See your Detroit area Chevy dealers today or log on to DetroitAreaChevyDealers.com.